I think they're fine today. Duffy's look good. 2-run home run.
This is Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco.
Number between 1 and 4. 3 is the Kansas City Royals. We've talking about the Royals for a long time.
Let's keep it that way. 2.
Take the show with you by listening on the Sports Radio 810 mobile app at 810WHB.com or by searching for Almost Entirely Sports wherever you get your podcasts.
You gonna play this game?
Sure. What game is this? Is this the sadness game? Because I'm there.
This is Almost Entirely Sports on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Oh, baby! Gripping ribbons, crack one open! The Phoenix Suns have won the last day of June, which actually last year came along with some playoff basketball. But today, oh, what a day. Oh, what a day in sports transactions. Rudy, you can turn off the other microphone now. I did my Foley work.
I think I'm gonna leave it for just a little bit, see what else happens.
I just sprayed some disinfectant into the air because there's too many germs in this room. At least that's my conclusion, because I have the fever. I have
Pac-12?
I have the fever.
Football?
I have the fever for
Conference
the NBA
realignment?
offseason. Oh, it's free agency day, baby.
Yeah, USC and UCLA were signed by the Big Ten.
One of these days, maybe it'll be in like the 5th or 6th year of us doing this show together. One of these days, Rudy's going to learn to trust me that I'm going to weave a bit together. I'm also afraid that my Rooster Booster, which is what I just cracked open, Rooster Booster Light, to be clear, is now going to smell like or taste like disinfectant spray. I did move the can to one side as I was spraying it in the other direction, but I'm tasting a little bit of Rooster Booster Light and a little bit of Lysol right now.
It's better than feeling like you're standing in the middle of a desert, because this back room is just...
Yeah, you know what, Rudy? I don't really want to hear your complaints.
Nothing, man.
Hey, Rudy, I don't really want to hear your complaints, actually. I have a literal bitter taste in my mouth because I had my mouth open when I was spraying Lysol into the air, and some of it blew back in, and I still don't have a bitter taste in my mouth.
I see mirages. I see a Happy Suns fan. That can't be true.
Oh, you are sick. Because we got to get you out of here. We got to get you some cold water, maybe a cold compress. And Rudy, you're right. I was going to get to that eventually as well, because I just was going to tie it together in a certain way. Today, in a day where no NBA games happened, no college football games happened, no NFL games happened, but today, on a very transactional, speculative June 30th, I think that there are two sports right now in real danger. I think that the existence of two sports and the way we have known them to operate for our entire lives, I think is in real jeopardy.
Men's field hockey.
College football right now, and really all of college sports behind it, but college football is the engine. I'm worried about college football. I really am.
Women's baseball?
But I'm even more worried about the National Basketball Association, ladies and gentlemen. Because when Kevin Durant is a member of God's favorite basketball team, your Phoenix Suns, I don't even know what the point of playing all those games is. Let's just sim season. Let's get that Larry O'Brien up in here. Let's go ahead and get that little gold tab on the back of the jersey. Let's, I want the regular season to happen because I will get to watch Devin Booker and Chris Paul and Kevin Durant share the floor together.
Going to be a lot of fun.
When they trade Chris Paul and Devin Booker to Brooklyn. They can't.
No.
They can't,
No.
Rudy. They can't. Hey, everybody.
Hey, actually.
Legally, Bam Adebayo and Devin Booker cannot be traded to the Brooklyn Nets.
They can.
With Ben Simmons still on the roster.
Yeah, there's other workarounds. For example, the trade you saw with the Nuggets one that isn't going to happen.
Yeah.
Jamal Murray has to go in that possible trade for multiple reasons. One, the Nuggets have first-round picks tied up. Two, it's to satisfy the whole Michael Porter Jr. on his rookie. Like, if by trading Jamal Murray with Michael Porter Jr., that for whatever reason, allows them to trade Michael Porter Jr. with Ben Simmons still on the roster. I don't know how exactly that. NBA's got some confusing things. Point being, there's some loopholes.
I was just checking the expiration date on my Rooster Booster Light because something really tastes like genuinely wrong.
But also
I
Kevin
think
Durant's not coming to Denver.
I think it's most likely the Lysol spray.
At least not to play for the Nuggets. Maybe to watch the Avs. Man likes his championship teams.
If, nay, when the Phoenix Suns trade for Kevin Durant, I am going to be insufferable. I'm insufferable right now, and it just sounds like it's a thing that has a legitimate chance to happen. The Phoenix Suns are the favorites to land Kevin Durant this offseason, including the Nets. He is more likely to be a Sun by betting markets right now than he is to be a Net.
Like, I couldn't agree with you more. Also, like, they shouldn't play the season because, like, what could go wrong, right? This last year, for example, like, we knew from day one, I mean, throughout the course of the year, Golden State was the best team, right? Like, they were the 1 seed, right? They were clearly the best team. It was just kind of like
the past is the past.
Golden State lost in the finals 2 years ago, and we were all like, hey, this year they're just kind of coasting through the regular season because it's all about the playoffs, baby.
You know, the past is the past.
That was
and
Golden State, right?
I can't remember what happened last year or the year prior because here's the thing. If, nay, when the Suns acquire Kevin Durant, I will be insufferable. If, nay, if they do it without having to send Mikal Bridges anywhere, I'm afraid that I will hurt myself. I don't know if I would be able to stay on my 2 feet.
If they are able to get Kevin Durant without sending Mikal Bridges, in theory also to Brooklyn, right? There could be a 3-team trade, but
Sure.
I don't like predicting that.
Sure,
because you never know.
impossible.
If, for some reason, Brooklyn agrees to that trade, the commissioner just has to step in and be like, guys, come on. I can't.
It's Kevin Durant's world. We're all living in it.
That's true.
It's just, that's welcome to player empowerment, baby. You know, here's what I've always said. As a lifelong Phoenix Suns fan, I've always said, if you don't have a superstar, go find you a superstar. You don't like the way the game is played, play the game better.
Also,
sorry some of you small market little twerps can't keep up with us big guys in the valley, but if you can't get in the Kevin Durant sweepstakes, why don't you go find your own Devin Booker?
I'm just pretty sure
Star magnet
that
Devin Booker.
Adam Silver's going to have to step in because there's clearly a lot of conspiracy stuff going on here. Because who has the 2 biggest ties? Like, who does Phoenix has the most ties with currently in the NBA?
Outside of the organization?
Who's head coach and GM played for a certain NBA team based in Phoenix? Josh, would you like to explain?
In recent years, there has been what
Simple
I believe...
yes or no question, Josh.
No, it wasn't, because it wasn't a yes or no question. It wasn't. Can I just explain it since it wasn't a yes or no question? Hey, Rudy, yes.
Withhold.
It wasn't a yes or no question. It was a who question. And that I can't help you on. I can help you, actually. Over these last couple of years, there has been a campaign, not Cameron Payne, although there has also been a campaign in Phoenix.
Definitely has been a campaign.
There has been, dare I say, a discreditation campaign slandering the good name of Steve Nash. He won 2 MVPs back-to-back years.
Not the most recent guy to do that.
That's true. Well, just wait. Rudy and I are gonna end up on the same side by the end of this.
Yeah. I've worked out the perfect 3-team trade that needs to happen for everybody to be happy.
I'm gonna let you pitch that because I think this will absolutely be the thing that gets us there. But here's my addition. Steve Nash, back-to-back MVP in Phoenix, and there has been this campaign over these last few years that, frankly, I believe is racist. That somehow Steve Nash was not a deserving back-to-back MVP because he didn't score enough points or whatever.
He is Canadian, right?
Yes.
Nailed it.
I think I need to find, I'm going to find Steve Nash's stat line and then put him up against everybody. You want to look at things like quote-unquote points. For you nerds and those advanced numbers, that's fine. Here's my take. Today, Today, Steve Nash should get a third MVP.
Wow.
Anything that Kevin Durant brings to Phoenix, Steve Nash should also get a ring.
I mean, he'd have to.
He
go
should get to
through
hoist the
Jokic,
trophy.
which he probably couldn't.
Steve Nash or Kevin Durant?
Both. I mean, has Kevin Durant
So just to be
ever
clear,
beat Nikola Jokic in the NBA playoffs?
Just to be clear, I'm
has
not.
he, Josh?
Well, no.
It's a simple yes or no
that
question.
one is a simple
Josh.
yes or no question, and the answer is no. I don't believe they've played
you.
each other in the
Hey,
NBA. Honor?
Honor?
Strike it from the record.
Strike it.
Strike it from the record.
It's not the question. That
Strike it from the record. You're right. The answer was no. And that is the end of my official answer.
I have no more questions, Your Honor. I do have a statement.
I was double checking on this because I thought I was right. Steve Nash was born in South Africa, but he is
I
Canadian.
did not know that.
I was literally, I thought, I'm pretty sure he was born. I think he lived. I think that's where a lot of his soccer love comes from.
Yeah.
I now
did
might
not
be
know
projecting that. I'm not 100% sure, but I knew that. I was
mean,
pretty sure he was born in South Africa.
It would make sense that a lot of his soccer love would come from an area of the world where soccer is much more popular, especially back then, right?
For sure.
Like soccer is very popular in Canada right now, but like I don't think it was back then.
They moved to Saskatchewan when he was 18 months old. So he was born in. Listen, Nash was born in Johannesburg, South Africa, to a Welsh mother and English father, in February 1974.
I did not know that either.
Then he moved to Saskatchewan, settling in British Columbia, and so he has.
Assume Canadian citizenship, or is he just like he grew up in Canada, but nothing? He is not Canadian.
Here's what I just realized that I had not considered. He holds blank as well as Canadian citizenship. Where would his other citizenship be?
I mean, it would be, I would assume, Africa because he was born there. And
Holds-
also maybe English and Welsh?
Holds British as well as Canadian citizenship.
Okay. Is that because it was South Africa, I guess?
That's what I'm wondering. I don't know.
Yeah.
Frankly, I did not
There's a lot
think we
about
were
the
going
world
to
I
get.
don't know.
Yeah, I didn't think we were going to get into Steve Nash's like Ancestry.com results, but here we are.
We need to go check some Olympic games. I want to make sure he didn't play for any teams he wasn't supposed to.
His medals here all representing Canada.
Okay.
I do have that.
In youth sports, I'll rip those medals right away. Anyways, back up Steve Nash.
I am not trying to take away either of Jokic's last two MVPs, nor am I saying that Steve
Two
Nash
greatest
should be the MVP next year. I'm saying that Steve Nash should just have a third MVP. It doesn't have to be assigned to a season. It should just say on his Wikipedia page, 3-time NBA Most Valuable Player, 2005-2006, Kevin Durant to Phoenix.
That's fair.
Maybe just KD, number 2, PHX.
I know people.
That's the year I'm living in. You're living in 2022. I'm living in Kevin Durant to Phoenix 22.
Flawless.
I'm sorry. I've been drinking since that news came out.
Trust me, I can tell. Here,
You
if
can
it makes
probably smell the booze on my breath through the glass. That first report came out that he
some
requested a
heat,
trade, and then I'm actually currently wearing a Camelback which in honor of the mountain in Arizona of the same name. I'm just wearing a Camelback right now that's just full of Fireball whiskey. Not full anymore. It's about half full.
Was full.
Yeah, it was. It was full at 2, and then it was empty at 4. And then it was full at 4:05, and now it's about half empty. I'm hoping it gets me through the rest of the show. I feel very unwell.
Probably full again at 8. If we're being honest.
Yeah, maybe that's why the Rooster Booster doesn't taste quite right.
Could be.
Kind of cinnamony.
Anybody though who Steve, here's the thing. I know maybe like Steve Nash's like points numbers weren't overwhelming. Steve Nash did the 50-40-90 thing at a time when 50-40-90 was not common.
4 times.
Yeah.
4 times.
It is not that I don't want to say it's like a bunch of players do it now. It's just more common, right? Like I think Jokic, I don't remember if he finished 50-40-90, but he came close to it at the very least. But
50% field goal percentage, 40% three-point shooting percentage, and 90% free throw percentage for those of you at home.
It's not like out of this world crazy now, but when Steve Nash did it, it did not happen often. It was like Steve Nash and like Larry Bird, and there were very few players that had actually done it.
Do you want to know how many people who have done it since Steve Nash did it 4 times?
I bet since Steve Nash, it has happened more times since Steve Nash than certainly it happened before Steve Nash. If that makes sense. I feel pretty confident about that.
4 and 4. Just purely for the NBA.
Okay.
There's a G League entry for Quinn Cook and a WNBA entry for Atlanta Deladon.
That counts.
Highest level of your. Yeah, sure. But
I would assume there was more of them.
Here's
and there
the
might have
list.
been, I guess, like more like right guys.
I got you. I'm going to give you a list.
Close to it, maybe, and that's just why it feels like there were more.
Here's your list for the 50-40-90 club. Just in order: Larry Bird, Mark Price, Reggie Miller, Steve Nash, Dirk Nowitzki, Steve Nash,
Dirk Nowitzki,
Kevin Durant.
Oh wait, was I right about that?
No.
Oh,
How was I supposed to tell you no other than just to keep moving?
That's fair.
Dirk just did it once. Then Nash did it those 4 times with Dirk in there once. And then Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Malcolm Brogdon,
Wow.
Kyrie Irving. That was in
Brogdon.
2020-21. Yeah, Malcolm Brogdon. That one is a little bit of an outlier, I would say. But yeah, Larry Bird's done it twice. Steve Nash has done it 4 times. No one else has ever done it even more than once. Kevin Durant, Kyrie, the most recent addition there.
Jokic came pretty close in 2020, where he shot 56, 39, where my page just updated 87. So, like, he came close. Not there, though.
Do you want to offer your trade solution here that gets
Yes.
Kevin Durant where he wants to be?
Yes.
It gets me where I want to be, which is having Kevin Durant on my basketball team.
Yeah.
And it does something really important both for you and for me.
Gets Mikal Bridges where he wants to be, clearly.
What's your 3-team trade?
So, here's the, and, like, this isn't totally, like, figured out. There's some draft picks we'll be moving around, I'm sure, because Brooklyn's going to need some stuff. But here's what we do. Brooklyn gets DeAndre Ayton, Michael Porter Jr. Denver can throw a 2029 first-round pick. Phoenix can throw some of theirs, yada, yada, yada.
Reportedly, Brooklyn doesn't really want DeAndre Ayton. Don't worry about it. They're going to want him.
Nobody wants DeAndre Ayton is the problem.
That does seem to be the case, which is weird because he is a very good basketball player. I just want to
Is
go
he,
ahead.
though?
Yes.
Yeah, he's fine.
Yes, he's a good basketball player.
Yeah.
Very good.
Just like Nick Chubb, right? Great running back. Want him. Anyways, those two, Brooklyn. Kevin Durant, obviously, to Phoenix. Mikal Bridges, Denver. The Nuggets get him. I mean, they improved the small forward spot. Like, Mikal Bridges, like, when Michael Porter Jr. was clicking, he's a better scorer than Mikal Bridges. But Mikal Bridges is much more consistent offensively, much better defensively, and plays basketball.
That was I was going to just
Might
the
be
most more
important
consistent.
thing.
Yes. The split of how many games has Michael Porter Jr. played in the last 2 years for the Nuggets? Do you have a ballpark
Probably
number
about
for it?
82.
That honestly feels high to me. That seems I would take the
Because
under on one full season out of the last 2 years.
He set his oh wow, I was way off. Well, no, I wasn't way off. I mean, I was off. 70
in 2 years.
in the last 2 years. Yes.
Bridges played every game this year, 72
But-
the year before, 73 the year before, every game the year before that. He started 82 games this year, which is just an outrageous achievement.
He played less in 2020, 2021 than I thought he did. I kind of figured he'd be in the 74-ish range, which is about 13 games more than what he actually did play, which was 61.
I obviously would
125 for his career, which is a season and a half. Over 4 seasons. Now, his rookie year, the Nuggets drafted him, obviously knowing he's not available his rookie year, right? But over the last 3 years, he's played a season and a half.
I would obviously just like for Mikal Bridges to just be here, right? And by here I mean Phoenix, with Booker and Chris Paul and Kevin Durant, and you have Mikal Bridges, and then you figure it out, and you just don't even worry about it after that. Okay, you just figure it out.
Which you can do when you have those guys started. You can kind of figure it out.
Yeah, I could be
It's not that hard.
I could play the 5, and it would be we would win 70 games. That might be high, but I'm not sure. But if Bridges has to be involved in the trade package, it would really warm my heart for him to find it. As you have talked for literally years about how much you would like Mikal Bridges to be a member of the Denver Nuggets,
So much fun to watch.
you would get your crush from afar. And for me, it would be like, yes, Mikal Bridges and my basketball team broke up, but Mikal Bridges and I are still friends. I can still watch him and root for him because obviously, like, other than I will say, playoff time, whenever the Suns are the 1 seed and the Nuggets are the 8 seed, that first round matchup, I will have to go ahead and turn a blind eye, but that'll only be 4 games out of every couple of years because they'll just sweep them out of there and they'll be fine.
The disrespect. We would 100% be like the 4 or 5 seed, and we would see you in the second round.
Whoever would beat you in the first round as the 4 or 5 seed opposite you.
It would not go well in the second round, but we would absolutely face you in the second round. Now, Mikal Bridges is playing. You know what's not going to happen in the second round whenever Phoenix and Denver are playing against each other? Mikal Bridges as a Nugget. He's not going to get cooked in the pick and roll game by Chris Paul like Michael Porter Jr. did. I'm not going to been told by my local police department that I can't call and report a crime that Chris Paul had broken Michael Porter Jr.'s soul.
In fairness, it doesn't appear to be that difficult to break Michael Porter Jr. in one form or another.
Physically, super easy. Spiritually, it's a challenge.
Is he eating bacon again or not? I can't remember.
I don't know. I kind of checked out on him after the whole COVID herd control theory thing.
Uh-huh. That makes sense. No, what he meant was it was herd control. He's looking for herd immunity because he just learned about cows and how delicious they are.
I don't know if he's eating cows, but he definitely is eating pigs.
I just decided to make the jump to cows because I didn't feel like a herd of pigs was quite right.
It's not,
What is a bunch of pigs called, though?
A flock.
That's not right. It's definitely not a herd or a pack or a flock or a murder. Why can I not just think of what that would be? Rudy's Googling it, dear listeners. If you're driving into a ditch right now because we're so dumb that we don't know what a group of pigs is called, I totally get it. It's a Piggly Wiggly. Is it a pin? Is it a pin? Hold on. Don't tell me yet. Hold on. It is a pin of pigs. PEN.
So there's a.
It is a
I'm gonna
muck
give you
of
quick
of pigs.
thing. All these are wrong. You
That doesn't
have
seem possible.
3 different things: a group of pigs, a group of young pigs, and a group of hogs.
Okay.
Each one is something different. The young pigs is easy.
It's a pig pen of pigs.
No,
it's a piglet of pigs.
Anything that's
piggies.
No, pig is not the word.
Okay, hold on.
Any sort of any time an animal has babies, that's basically a
puppy,
a litter.
Oh, okay, yeah, fair enough. So
But
you have a litter of piglets.
But pigs and hogs. I'm not the pigs. I've never. I know the words. Hogs. One of those words I've never even heard of.
Okay, so for hogs, you just.
I mean, it's a 6-letter word that is going to be on Wordle one day, and we're all going to be like, "That's not a word."
Well, Wordle's only 5 letters, so we're probably safe.
Nah, close enough.
I'm gonna say for hogs, you just say you have a boss of hogs.
Passel or team?
Mine is better. I have a boss of hogs. That's great. Hold on. One more suggestion on the hog front. What if you say what if you call it a mass? Yeah, over here I got a mass of hogs. You got to really enunciate.
It can be a little confusing though. Do you have a mass of hogs or a massive hog? Which both could be true at the same time.
It's up to your imagination. I don't know. What do you call a pile of pigs?
Drift or drove. Almost said dove. I was like, that's
okay,
not right.
Well,
Drift or drove.
I kind of thought that there was like a word that I just couldn't think of right now
so
for some
drift
reason.
of hogs or of pigs or a drove of pigs.
I don't think I've ever heard either of those.
I feel like I maybe heard drove of farm animals before, essentially, but
I've
drift,
heard those
I have
words,
not.
but I've never been like, oh yeah, look over there, it's a drove of pigs.
Yeah.
Like when Renee and I were driving down to Wichita and back a couple of times a couple of weeks ago, we passed a bunch of cows. Look, there's a herd. I don't think you have a herd of. We didn't drive past a big flock of pigs. And actually, I did say that you were wrong by calling them a flock of pigs, Rudy, and that's not true. Because if you have a group of pigs flying, then it is a flock of pigs.
And pigs can fly. These are known facts.
Well, look, you could say that pigs. When will pigs fly? Oh, I don't know. The day that Kevin Durant demands a trade to the Phoenix Suns.
In 1932, the first pig flew across the ocean.
That's beautiful. We don't teach that in our schools enough. In the movie
that pig
adaptation,
later went on to star as Babe.
In the movie we were in very similar places.
And was Amelia Earhart in one of those biopics.
In the movie adaptation of Free Willy, they cast an orca to play the role, but it was based on a true story. It was actually a pig though that did live fully underwater. But whales have blowholes. For a pig, they'll just stick their snout up and then just snort out some of the air and then inhale and go about their swimming again.
And that's where the submarine comes from.
correct. That is the basis of the concept of the
Inspiration,
of the submarine. Humans saw pigs doing that, and they were like,
Wait a second.
I'd like to be able to do that.
This design.
Funnily enough, that's also where Canadian bacon comes from. It's only Canadian bacon if you get it from the swimming pigs off of the coast of Canada. Otherwise, it's just sparkling pig. Gary Harris back to let's see here, the Mavs or the Magic, excuse me. Gary Harris, 2 years, $26 million.
We said Gary Harris back. I was like, Denver?
Nope, sorry. Gary Harris, 2 year, $26 million contract extension.
I'm all right with that. Him not coming back, obviously, to Denver, because Gary Harris it's a weird story of, I forget the year exactly, maybe like 2016 or 2017. Zach Lowe had him like as his like 45th, 46th best player in the NBA. Phenomenal two-way guard, right? Give you like 16 points a game, play good defense. And then he forgot how to shoot a basketball. Like 4 or 5 years into his NBA career, just like forgot how to play basketball. And now he's bad. Just bad at basketball.
Was Kevin Knox a Kentucky guy?
He was.
2 years, $6 million for the Pistons.
Good for him, because you know what he's been in the NBA so far? Real bad.
Yeah, 2 years, $6 million in NBA numbers is like literally, it's
He
like
was
insult. It's like literally an insult.
The 9th overall pick by the Knicks. It did not go well. And the Knicks are just trying to give anybody money right now.
No, I disagree. They're trying to specifically give Jalen Brunson money, which is more inexplicable than if they were trying to give anybody money right now.
Well. The Knicks are... It's a long-term plan that they have going where Leon Rose, who, sure, yeah, he used to represent, Jalen Brunson. And, yeah, he may have hired Jalen Brunson's dad to be on the coaching staff. And, okay, yeah, his son does represent Jalen Brunson now because he no longer can because he's a GM. It's fine. They also hired DJ Wagner's dad, who's the #1 overall recruit in high school basketball, who's either going to go to Kentucky or Louisville. That thing is going to be fascinating to watch. So DJ Wagner's going to get he could lose an arm and he's getting a super max by the Knicks at some point. Worldwide West is on their front office, and for anybody who's listening, they're like, "Who's Worldwide West?" Worldwide West is like the first, you remember the Adidas shoes things, Gasser, right? That was his name, right? Gassinola? You know who I'm talking
TJ
about.
Gassinola?
Sure.
Is that right?
I don't.
Wasn't it a TJ?
Seems about right.
Yeah, I got TJ. Gassinola. I added a vowel
So
in there.
Worldwide West has been doing basically that since like the 90s, and everybody's just like been fine with it. But he now works for the Knicks, like in the front office, because him and Leon Rose go way back. It seems like a good enough dude. He's how he's the reason why Cal was able to get DJ Wagner's dad, DeJuan Wagner, to go to Memphis, because DeJuan Wagner is the nephew of Worldwide West. There's a lot of family connections, man. It gets complicated real fast.
I wanted to let you kind of get your whole explainer out there. I didn't want to jump in partway through. But I just want to circle back
the
really quick.
meme / picture of Charlie from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
He's got the pins and the ropes everywhere and the string, and it's just chaos.
Yeah.
That's what the Knicks are.
Yeah, and that, no argument there. I agree 100%.
Trying to explain what the Knicks are.
Right. No, I get that too. Did you say that a guy could literally lose an arm and they would still give him a max contract?
I said if DJ Wagner personally did.
Got it. Okay.
Because
of all of the remaining,
his great uncle is on the staff, and lifelong family friend Leon Rose is the president of the Knicks. And there is a high school basketball player without an arm who has a sponsorship with Gatorade.
I've seen some of the. I think he's in a commercial or something.
He
it was
played
very
in
cool.
the McDonald's All-American game, I believe. One of the All-American. No, not the McDonald's one. It was the Allen. I forget what Allen Iverson calls his tournament, but he played in the Allen Iverson one.
Right, and that's awesome. And I don't want to say that a person with less than 4 limbs could never play in the NBA. I would love this. That would be an incredible story. I'm certainly rooting for that.
This kid's good at basketball.
I just think that it might be just just a touch too hard on the Knicks to say that one of their active players could spontaneously lose a limb and then still get a maximum deal.
Not one of their active players.
Nope, fair
specifically
enough.
DJ Wagner. Like only him. Because they are already hiring people, family members
He is
specifically,
17 years old right now.
onto their staff for him to be happy. Or it's not his dad, but it's his high school basketball coach. That's who they hired.
Why do you know so much about this?
Well, DJ Wagner is like, it's Kentucky. It's honestly kind of fascinating, like if he's going to go to Kentucky or Louisville, because it was just deemed he's going to Kentucky because Cal coached his dad, right? Then Louisville hired Kenny Payne, who played with Wagner's grandpa at Louisville.
I think Kenny
Who
Payne
is also
left,
now
I think,
on the
I think
staff.
Kenny Payne left
And
ESPN
Kenny
a little while ago.
No, Kenny Payne. I'm pretty sure it's Kenny Payne.
It was a Kenny Payne joke.
Yeah, gotcha. Kenny Payne, who you know where Kenny Payne?
I forget that I can't make jokes to Rudy whenever he's talking about potential Kentucky recruits. He just can't hear.
And also,
he can't hear sarcasm.
Also, you know where Kenny Payne came from? You know what job he left? He was on the staff at Kentucky. He left Kentucky for another job. He then left that job for Louisville. You know what that job was, Josh?
Yes, he was
Assistant
shoveling.
coach of the New York Knicks. There's just this weird Knicks, Kentucky, Louisville, DJ Wagner strings everywhere. It's kind of fascinating to read about. It's like the only recruiting story that I care about.
Are you? Yeah, are you?
But
on,
it's kind of fun.
Are you on 4chan right now? What's
it's just
happening?
kind of fun because there's like, again, like Louisville has. They hired DJ Wagner's grandpa to be in charge of like alumni relations.
No, I understand. I get that.
It's just this weird battle of we're gonna hire who can hire the most people that this guy knows in order to get him to commit, and it's fun.
Right. No, it is interesting. Anthony Simons, 4 years,
God,
$100 million.
So much money.
I just saw that.
I could not tell you anything that he did this last year. Other than play basketball for Portland.
The only other time that he has come up on this show recently was specifically in that clip we played for a couple days ago where Bomani Jones said the phrase, Anthony Simons isn't going to get it done.
Because he's not. He's a fine basketball player.
And he's going to make about as much money as Patrick Mahomes next year.
NBA money is wild, man.
It's a little less. I think Mahomes has some space there.
You just have to be a good enough NBA player, and you will make $100 million. Like, yeah,
Anthony Simons will make Chris Jones money this year.
Yeah,
There's
like,
my comp for you.
We make fun of DeAndre Ayton at times, and also just
never. I've never made fun of DeAndre Ayton once. And if anybody in Brooklyn is listening right now, I think that he might just be. I honestly think that if he just got on a coaching staff that would have him begin to learn how to shoot from three, I think he might be better than Giannis in a couple of years.
Sure,
he might be better than Giannis right now.
And also,
just in case anyone from Brooklyn is listening,
any center who is just competent. Any center who is just competent at basketball, even though like everybody kind of has agreed the center position is not nearly as important as it used to be.
Yeah, JaVale McGee just signed a 3-year deal.
You're just guaranteed $100 million. You're just guaranteed it. Didn't DeAndre Jordan just get like something like $20 million a year
from the Nuggets?
Wait, is that true?
Is that not true?
I don't know. I saw that he signed with somebody, but I didn't see who it was with. Oh my God! Are you about to hurt me?
No,
I was doing a radio show, so I missed all this.
No. This was earlier. I was gonna send it to you. Hold on, I'm gonna double check.
Happened?
Hot stove season, baby.
Did we really just give DeAndre Jordan like $20 million a year or something?
Hold on. The Nuggets signed a big man whose name I thought was was funny. It was like in that realm of your.
Oh no.
It was. Supermax for Jokic is happening. You know that. You got that.
Figured that. Okay, just 1 year veteran minimum. Okay, cool. We're good.
But I was right?
Yeah. I just thought I saw somebody.
Hilarious.
I was running a radio show earlier, so I wasn't like fully paying attention to Twitter, but I kind of like glanced at it, and I thought I'd seen something about DeAndre Jordan getting like $20 million a year over 3, and I was like, that's insane. But also
that's
NBA.
That's JaVale McGee.
That's okay.
JaVale McGee got 2 years with like a 3rd-year player option.
What?
Basketball's nuts, man.
I love JaVale McGee, but what? Who gave JaVale McGee that? Was it Sacramento?
No, it was Dallas.
Oh, my God.
It's the second year in a row he signed with a team that eliminated him in the playoffs the year prior.
Dallas, what are you doing? You lose out on Jalen Brunson, and you're like, we got to give JaVale McGee $60 million? What is happening in the NBA? Actually, DeAndre Jordan on a 1 year veteran minimum deal to be our backup center. I actually really like that signing. I'm very happy about that.
JaVale, it's 3 years, $20.1 million.
Total,
okay.
though.
Gotcha. Total, not per
better.
year. No.
Still
Sorry.
seems crazy, but that's better.
It's still a lot, and that third year is, I believe, is again a player option. So, no, sorry, I did not mean to insinuate that he had signed a 3 for $60 deal.
No, yeah, you're fine. I thought I seen that somebody had signed that. I misread the tweet. 20.1 total, not 20.1 per year.
Ooh, also, the Suns could just bring back Bismack Biyombo. That would make me happy.
Isn't he like building a city?
Pretty much. Yeah, seems like a good dude.
Yeah, it does.
I like Bismack Biyombo. He can be an absolutely serviceable big man, and hopefully he's not starting.
No.
But if he is starting, surrounded by Devin Booker, Chris Paul, Kevin Durant, maybe Mikal Bridges out there still too, do you know who can hurt me? Nobody! Nothing!
I'll say this. I think Phoenix needs is going to have a new starting center next year. I don't know if that center is going to be going for Kevin Durant, but I don't think he's going to be playing basketball for Phoenix next year.
I do believe that is also true. Yeah,
I think that might be for the best. If only there had been like a really good guard on that team, or in that draft,
like a shot creator, maybe a little chubby.
I don't like to judge people's weight around here. I will say in this,
maybe they had his previous coach coaching that team somewhere around there.
You could probably convince me that the scenario of Booker, Paul, Durant is better than Booker, fictional or Slovenian basketball player who
just picking a random
doesn't
country,
exist.
Right? Yeah.
The Slovenian Nikola Jokic, some say.
It is like Chris Paul's, he's 1,000 years old, but the play style of those three guys together. Sorry, I just got to sit here and think about it for a little bit.
Mikal Bridges will look great in that Denver blue.
We'll talk some baseball soon. Alec Lewis of The Athletic will join us at 8. David Lesky of Inside the Crown at 9. Plus, the conference, not even realignment stuff, just UCLA and basically a California exodus. You have now a couple of California coastal schools getting ready to make their in-conference treks through the Big Ten.
Coast to coast.
Yeah, that all definitely makes sense. So we'll talk some baseball, some collegiate realignment, and I will be refreshing Twitter. Who am I kidding? I'm just going to have TweetDeck up. It refreshes itself. I'll be staring at TweetDeck for the remainder of the show as well. Alec Lewis coming up in about 20 minutes. David Lesky in an hour and 20. And if at any point the Suns officially trade for Kevin Durant, maybe flip on the video feed on Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, or YouTube, because there's a decent chance that you're just gonna see me swinging my shirt over my head. And frankly, if they keep Mikal Bridges, maybe my pants too.
Want more Almost Entirely Sports? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 Facebook page.
Look, I'm starting to feel pretty good about the possibility of the Phoenix Suns getting a ring of their own, but I'm also smart enough to not have relied on them to handle all of the jewelry business in my life, because I've got somebody better for you to handle your business in the jewelry department. That's over at Ruback Fine Jewelry. They're local to Kansas City. This isn't some, giant conglomerate from a bajillion miles away. You want to go talk to the man you need to talk to at Ruback. His name is Hal, and he will take you all the way through the process of creating a beautiful custom engagement ring, and I can tell you that confidently because that's what he did for me. That was back before we were talking about Ruback on the radio. Kent Swanson said, "Hey, I've got my friends over here at Ruback. I think you'd really get a good experience over there." And so I said, "Kent, when have you ever led me astray? Of course I'll go check out Ruback." And I did, and I never went anywhere else. It was one of those sort of wonderful moments where you realize, this thing that I've been stressing out about for a while and trying to figure out what I need to do to, handle a once-in-a-lifetime decision. You stress about that for a while, and then, there's just a really simple, elegant, wonderful solution. It's go to Ruback, tell Hal what you like, tell him what your budget is, and see what he can do for you. And the answer of what he can do for you is going to be incredible, pretty much regardless of where you start. I can say that also pretty confidently, because I didn't know where we were headed in the design department until Hal gave us some of his expertise. I had my ideas. Renee gave her feedback back to Hal. Hal gave her some guidance there. Renee, quote, felt vindicated after the fact. I've written that down so I can remember the exact phrasing. Because Hal liked a bunch of her ideas and then also brought them to life in a way that left both of us incredibly, incredibly happy. So I'm always thrilled to talk about Ruback, and you'll join that crew, that club, if you go to Ruback yourself. They also do other jewelry as well. If you're just looking for a beautiful piece to gift to your significant other, just go check them out online also at ruback.co. It's not C-O-M, C-O. ruback.co. You can check out everything that they do there. But if you're looking for a custom engagement ring, you can't get better than Ruback. It was really just a perfect 10 out of 10 experience. And I would say that I would go do it again, but obviously I won't. But I will go back for my wedding bands and for Renee's wedding bands as well. And I can't wait to see what that process is like. You know I love my bling. I'm ready to get my own. I wear more rings than Renee does. Hers is nicer than mine, but that's because it came from Ruback Fine Jewelry. Go set up your appointment today. Don't wait. Go right now. Go to ruback.co. That's ruback.co.
Hey, Kansas City, Stephen St. John here from our friends at Window Nation. You've seen it. Home prices keep on rising, which means the more improvements you make in your home now,
This is Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco
Friends who bleep on Virginia together stay together.
Exactly.
on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
One more thing I should have mentioned in the first segment. Not only is Devin Booker reportedly about to sign his Supermax, which does officially be the closest ever to not always waking up in a cold sweat every couple of weeks, having a nightmare that Devin Booker is demanding to trade out of Phoenix.
Sign and trade.
It also is coupled with a report from Shams Charania earlier that he will be the cover athlete on NBA 2K23. And that's
pretty cool.
That right there. We've had a lot of fun here today.
I'll buy that game.
But I'm ready to buy it for Madden on PC on Steam right now. Madden 22 with Mahomes and Brady is literally $10, and I still scrolled past it.
Yeah,
my current PC can't handle it, and maybe I should buy it for future Steam Deck purposes, or I don't know, whatever. I have not bought a fresh out the gate professional sports game in a long time. And I also think I'm going to be absolutely ready to buy that. Just literally be like, oh, Devin Booker's on the cover. That makes me happy. I'd like to have that. Which again,
and he's genuinely one of when he was at Kentucky, he was one of my favorite Kentucky basketball players I've watched.
That's true. I forget that you also have your
I genuinely
your Devin Booker
loved Devin Booker well before he was a really good NBA player, because again he was just what he's doing in the NBA. He
really
did
good,
Kentucky.
Elite. Some would say.
Oh, absolutely.
Best in MVP candidate.
I mean,
best player on his own team.
Here's the problem. He's not going to get really any MVP love, because he's going to have when you have Durant and Chris Paul around you.
I get it.
It's hard.
You know what he can be instead of an MVP candidate? A champion.
MVP doesn't always go to the best player in the league. Now it has the last 2 years, so they're on a pretty good streak. So I do assume they'll just go to the best player in the NBA for a third straight year, and obviously Nikola Jokic will win his third straight. But it doesn't always go to the top players in the league. Sometimes it goes to the 10th best player in the league, but he just provided more value, right? Devin Booker doesn't have to necessarily provide 10 value, because it's just a really good team, but he's like one of the best players in the NBA, like top 10.
There are two things around Booker here that have
maybe the greatest Wildcat of all time. Who could say?
Who could say? I would say over any other school named Wildcats, over any literal Wildcats.
It's him and Jamal Murray. That's where the list starts and ends.
I would say
Tyler Hero. That's my top three.
I would say, and my Mount Rushmore would have the three of them.
And then if it was Mount Rushmore, it'd be those three.
I would have it be the three of them.
Isaiah Brisco, because he spells his last name the correct way.
It really is incredible that we've been doing this show for this long together, and still, whenever both of us have our joke, it becomes a press conference.
I had to get mine out.
It's just two people at a press conference, both going, "Coach, I have a question about," and then the other, "Coach, I wanted to go ahead. I'm just curious."
Okay, Josh, would you like to get yours off?
No, I wanted you to. Whoa, what?
Get your joke off.
Yeah, my Mount Rushmore of best Wildcats of all time would be Devin Booker, Tyler Hero, Jamal Murray. Is that what you said?
Yes.
And Willie.
I mean, it's hard to beat Willie.
Willie the Wildcat, to be clear.
Oh. So you meant Willie Cauley-Stein.
I meant Willie the Wildcat.
He's also good.
He's one of my top 4 Wildcats of all time for sure. Here's my two serious Devin Booker takes, and then we're gonna have a bunch of Royals for the rest of the show. So we got
this
you your
first
variety
hour was
today.
for us.
That's right. That's really true. One is that if this KD thing happens, and if it is all obviously true that Kevin Durant has always seemed to love Devin Booker and wanted to play with Devin Booker, along with Chris Paul, obviously, and an organization that's gotten its bleep together, that is going to be a legacy thing for Devin Booker in Phoenix. Like he if they win a title, he will surpass everyone else, from Charles Barkley and Steve Nash to some of the guys even predating Charles Barkley, as I think the most beloved athlete on that team in history. And if he's the only one with a title who was the ringleader, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because I think it's important to mention the fact that he didn't recruit necessarily Chris Paul or Kevin Durant.
Right.
They were attracted to him, right?
And who could blame them? I mean, good grief. Who's not attracted to Devin Booker?
I mean, let's be real. But also, it is surprising for a guy as young as he is to have older, great all-time greats
100%
want to play with him when he's not really out there, at least publicly, right? I'm sure. I mean, I know that he talks to them. I'm sure, right? Because they all have relationships with each other, right? They're all friends. But like, he is not actively trying to be like, hey, yeah, definitely come here. I want you here. I'm sure he's told these guys that, but like, they want to go play with him.
And that wasn't always the case. And it's not like he's doing it for, on one hand, let's say like the Knicks, a storied franchise that stunk forever, or the Lakers, where he's a lifelong Laker on a franchise that's always been good, just always, period, forever. Or even like the Spurs, a traditionally incredibly well-run organization. The only downside to today for me has been that Robert Sarver has still continued to own the team. And if the Suns can pull that off in spite of having a miserable ownership situation that has plagued them forever, Devin Booker is stuck in Phoenix and has just gotten better as the organization has also gotten better. Like they have fed each other that way in a way that I just think is genuinely tremendous. Just a wonderful story of a downtrodden team and player moving in an increasingly positive direction. Thing number two, I literally don't think, like, I grew up a Chiefs fan, and I continue to root for them to win. It's more fun, but I'm also like, if I was just not even doing radio anymore, I would just call myself a Chiefs fan. But also really covering the team intently. Like, I'm just, whenever you get really close to a piece of paper, and you can't read every word, you can just sort of see what's right in front of you. The book's too close to your face. Sometimes that's become me with the Chiefs. Like it is my job more than any other thing in this city to know and understand and predict and explain everything going on with the Chiefs. So I've rooted for the team growing up through now, but I'm right there on it. With the Suns, this is my irrational thing. And truly inside, I felt, I'd spend $60 on a copy of 2K that I'm not really that excited to play because Devin Booker's on the cover. And I think that is a sort of fandom brain rot that I'm not proud of, and you probably shouldn't be proud of either.
Be proud of it.
Don't let anybody take it from you, though.
Be proud of it.
It is a nice reminder that is a fun thing to have. So I like to be reminded of all of that. Third thing. Kevin Durant currently is on the Brooklyn Nets. There is absolutely a chance he's not a member of the Phoenix Suns. Some Suns fans on Twitter today were kind of hedging against their own emotions. I'm just not going to think about it. I'm going the other way. I am just snorting this day of NBA transactions because best case scenario, it leads to the best season of basketball that I've ever seen. Worst case scenario, I had one day of snorting Rooster Booster Light and Kevin Durant jokes. I mean, I don't see a downside here. Alec Lewis next.
You're listening to Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
there. I'm Mark Robbins. On a day designed for NBA free agents to come to terms, or at least talk with new teams, Kevin Durant stole a bit of the spotlight. KD officially asking the Brooklyn Nets for a trade, and he's got 4 years left on his deal. ESPN senior writer Andre Snellings has a thought on where KD might play next.
Mine would have Durant going to Denver. It was, centered around Michael Porter Jr. and Aaron Gordon headed to Brooklyn and kind of getting Brooklyn a Durant light to start their rebuild, and then a few draft picks from Oklahoma City thrown in, and them getting Ben Simmons.
That's Andre Snellings earlier on ESPN Radio. NBA free agents, as I mentioned, can agree on contracts starting today, and ESPN's Tim McMahon says the Knicks and Jalen Brunson will do just that. The Wizards are going to keep Bradley Beal as he agrees to a 5-year, $251 million deal. The Big Ten presidents and chancellors unanimously vote to accept UCLA and USC for membership into the conference beginning in 2024. In the NHL, the Bruins are expected to name Jim Montgomery Friday as the new head coach. And the San Francisco Bay Conservation and Development Commission voted Thursday to reclassify a terminal at the Port of Oakland as a mixed-use area where a new ballpark for the Oakland A's can be built.
Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max.
Cowboys getting rid of some of the players in the offseason came down to earth. Eagles came up a little bit. I think they've closed the gap to a degree.
It's Friday with KJ and Max. It all starts at 6 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ESPN2.
You are listening to Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco.
I'm excited to talk about Royals baseball. We've seen some pitching, some catching. It's been interesting.
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
The Royals are off today, which means we can talk about them plenty here tonight. We'll do that now with our dear friend Alec Lewis of The Athletic. You can follow him on Twitter at Alec_Lewis. You can read his work covering the Kansas City Royals on theathletic.com. And most importantly, I just need to check first, I guess. Alec, how's your mom doing?
Good. I don't know if she's heard the Kevin Durant news this afternoon, but I think from I don't know. You could be asking from a cooking perspective, from a health perspective. Most avenues, I think she's really good. I will have to check in with her after the Durant news and see if that's still the case. But
yeah, I would like to know what she thinks about that. I assumed that if she hadn't heard about it yet, she will hear about it plenty whenever she downloads the podcast tonight. Because at this point I believe she's an every hour AES podcast listener, which is great because no one else is. So I'm really hoping that that's true. If that's not the case, please don't break my heart.
Yeah, no, I think she is for sure. And I mean, I do have to be honest. Like in terms of because of her background, I feel kind of bad over the last probably 2 weeks. I mean, I remember the last time we spoke, I was cooking something. I'm not sure if I've even cooked a meal for myself in the past 2 weeks. I was in Arkansas watching minor league baseball, didn't cook myself a meal in the makeshift Marriott hotel. I was in Omaha for the College World Series, didn't cook a meal for myself in the Sheraton 4 Points north of the city. And then the Royals were in town, and I was up at the stadium watching some sports, and so I haven't cooked much there. So no, from that perspective, I don't even know really. What'd you say?
Lost your appetite, did you?
No, I never had one to begin with.
When the Royals were in town.
Right, the season started April 7th. Haven't had much of one to begin with. But no, she's definitely been listening. You don't have to worry about that.
Great.
And I'm good. Yeah, I'm great.
I didn't ask how you were doing.
I know you didn't, but I just felt, I'm just so egotistical. It's just so much about me in this world that I just felt like I needed to tell you. Yeah, I have no idea how that I don't even know why I updated you from that perspective.
Because I don't feel like I've given any indication that I care.
I did want to know, so
okay.
I'm happy to hear, even though I did ask
No,
you
you
before
don't.
we went on the air.
You don't care. And that's why I tried to talk about Kevin Durant, because I thought that would shift it to you. So that's where I really tried, but you kind of put me on the defensive out of the gate. And so now I'm trying to shift my egotistical self back around to discussing your state of things.
Yes, well, I'm doing great. Also, thanks for asking. So we're good.
Good.
So is my mom.
Good.
You didn't ask, but it would have been.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm not at that level in terms of just. How did I not ask about that? Man.
Yeah, it's all right. It's okay.
I know.
I'm glad you mentioned the series of traveling you've done. Everything. I have a couple of questions about the current active baseball team, and then we'll get around all of that. But what was the College World Series trip like? It seems like, and especially this year, I don't know why. Maybe I just caught a little more of it. It seems like the atmosphere there is it just has to be incredible. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry.
No, you're not wrong at all. You're never wrong, first of all.
Thank
you.
No,
it was I was there for 5 days. Really what happened was the Rows were on the West Coast, and a couple editors were like, you want to go up there and do some feature stories on some different stuff? And I couldn't have said yes quicker.
Mm-hmm.
So I went up there, and it's amazing. I would tell anybody, who loves baseball, whether you watch college baseball or not, just the atmosphere is amazing. The stadium and its location with like the surrounding bars and restaurants and stuff, it's just very fun. And really this year, to your point, like the fan bases that were there and just the magnitude of the type of fan base that there was really cool. Got to meet a ton of people, hang around a lot of different types of people, and it was a really like the 5 days was great. It was like went to Hawaii for a little bit and now I'm back. But fantastic event. I would recommend anybody go if you get the chance.
Just so I'll clear this up when people say the environment was great because the teams were there. It's the SEC teams, because the SEC teams are like college baseball in the SEC.
Some say it just means more.
It is wild how much they love it. Like it is a big deal. Ole Miss, Arkansas, they go nuts.
Yeah, I described it to somebody as like, it's just like a college football atmosphere surrounding baseball. And really, like, the reality is the games weren't unbelievable for the 5 days I was there, like very few close games. But like I don't know. The stadium was really packed. The fans were very engaged. There was just a purity to all of it that it just really stuck out to me. And again, like Omaha, I think they really, really do a good job hosting that event and have built a really cool thing around it. So it was awesome. It was great.
I am ready now to talk about the Major League Baseball team, and in particular, one player who recently also made that trip back from Omaha up to Kansas City.
Did you guys ride together, by the way?
Yeah. Did you and Vinny carpool? Gas is expensive.
No, I came back a few days earlier. Thought I would do that beautiful drive first. Just check it out.
Well,
yeah. And,
when you came back, he wasn't ready yet, so that makes sense.
That's
not even fair. They traded Carlos Santana.
Right.
No, it's not even fair.
Yeah. I'm not. Yeah, Carlos Santana had not been traded yet, but I did go actually. I spent a morning over at the Storm Chasers ballpark and watched Vinny and watched Jackson Kowar, and they followed suit on the drive after.
Now, this can't possibly surprise you, but there is exactly one paragraph of the Vinny Pasquantino story that you have recently published on theathletic.com that just absolutely knocked my head off my freaking shoulders. I am doing this show right now like the character from the Addams Family. I'm holding my head under my arm because the sentence, in 6th grade, he not only led the school play as Bilbo Baggins from The Hobbit, but he was also cast in the esteemed role of the Flying Monkey in The Wizard of Oz. Quote, then in high school, I was the love interest in Dracula, Pasquantino said, and I had the greatest time. You said one of these quotes that he talked about theater in the past some point. I don't know, I missed it, I guess, I don't know. This makes me so happy, Alec. That the Royals have a theater kid DHing and playing first base right now? How did that happen?
And he's 6'4", 245.
Bilbo, he was bigger than Bilbo Baggins in the 6th grade, I have to imagine.
And what's crazy is I remember him telling me that last year, like on the phone, and like I didn't ask him like, do you have other hobbies? I remember asking him like why he loves baseball, and I think he was like, I'm passionate about it. I'm passionate. Just like in 6th grade, I was passionate about being Bilbo Baggins. I was like, what is he even talking about?
So
like
good.
I'm not. Anybody who knows me knows I'm not like some expert on The Hobbit and Dracula. I mean, it's just not. But Vinny Pasquantino, I mean, this was really I tried to have it in the story. I don't know if at times like there were enough examples of the humor and the character that he is, but just the reality is this Royals clubhouse. I mean, even the people in there have said like it's a quiet clubhouse. It's just kind of, there aren't that many like I mean, this guy is a voice. This guy is hilarious. I mean, I guess if you're Bilbo Baggins and you end up now the one of the most special plate discipline hitters in the world, I don't know. It's just something. But the Royals ended up with him because, to be honest, he had a back injury in one of his final years at Old Dominion, and most scouts pulled off because Old Dominion is kind of at like the southeastern tip of where some of the Mid-Atlantic scouts kind of have to operate. And the Royals scout, Jim Farr, loved going to Old Dominion. So he just kept going all year, and Vinny got healthy, and the Royals saw him, and they were like, this guy can really hit, and so we're going to draft him. So they did, and now the Royals are reaping the rewards. I said this earlier this week, but like for as bad and as atrocious as a lot around the Royals has been this year, it's a really positive that they draft a guy, a guy who not only played Hobbit in the 6th grade, played Bilbo Baggins in Hobbit in the 6th grade, but also was an 11th round pick who will contribute largely to this team, not only on the field, but in terms of the, volume in the clubhouse.
Yeah, and that stuff, I mean, and look, there have been sort of like some, I'm not even trying to be vague on purpose. I can't remember where all of the various things have come from, but there's been some stuff about the tension in the clubhouse. You lose a bunch of games, it's going to get quiet and tense, and everybody, like that's pretty like standard fare around baseball. I think if you're a bad baseball team that can't get a win for a week, the atmosphere is going to get worse. That, again, not breaking any news there. But specifically, after I read this, I mentally went back to a piece of audio that we played from whenever he was on the field talking to a bunch of you guys when he got called up, and he told the story of where he was when he got the call, and like what I got from that now really clicks with the theater kid thing is he's a good storyteller. Like, and I'm not not necessarily a novel, but he gave the details about, taking out the trash, which he usually doesn't do. Usually he leaves that to his roommate. That's a detail, this. I'm explaining this to the audience, not to you. But that's a detail that makes a story a little more compelling. And he just decided to weave that in. I think naturally, it seems like from what he is as a person. But you've talked to him more than anybody else around here has, I'd imagine, or at least plenty. Is that a fair assessment? Is there more of that personality that we're all going to see over the next couple of years?
Oh, 100% you'll see it. I mean, he was telling the story. I mean, he drives a 2015 Ford Escape, and it fits him really well, and he loves the way it drives. I mean, I don't know. I remember sitting with him in spring, and we were talking about hardcore hitting stuff because let's make no mistake, he's funny and he has the personality, but he also thinks hitting in a way that is just at kind of a different level. But I remember we're talking about hitting, we're sitting in the cages in Arizona, and somehow the conversation got on the Madden franchise that he and his roommates were doing and in Arizona, and he was talking about they picked the Chicago Bears. He's a Jets fan, and he's not bashful about the Jets and where they've been. But they were doing this Madden franchise, and he's saying he's coaching, and he's like we're picking the brains of the Royal staffers to think about drafting and developing and all this stuff. And I remember sitting back how the hell did the conversation turn from hitting to him talking about Madden? But it was just a joy because sometimes, as you know, Josh, like you're talking to some of these players and you're trying to like just drag anything out of them in terms of, I don't know, but he was like gushing about Michael Massey and his role as the scouting director for the Madden franchise Chicago Bears. I don't know. It was just incredible. But that, I mean, like that's every conversation you have with them. It will take a turn that is a joyful turn. And I mean, yeah, you can even see it. Like I remember. I don't remember it. Thankfully, I remember it happened yesterday. But we were in the clubhouse after the game, and they were talking about NBA free agency stuff, and he was sitting at one of the tables and going back and forth, and James Harden was coming up, and certain guys, just the guy who's, I mean, obviously he's a rookie, and so in like kind of the hierarchy of things, you're not going to be the most like vocal guy, but you could just tell he's like a people person. He wants to be around different types of people. He wants to make people laugh, and that's just him. And he's not gonna. I mean, he's not gonna not be himself. And I think the Royals really need him to be himself because I mean, clubhouse I think need those types of personalities, especially from guys who perform. I mean, we talk about it all the time. Like one of the biggest voices in there is Salvador Perez, and he can back it up all the time because he's done what he's done and he continues to do what he does. And same with Whit Merrifield over the years. But you need those types of voices, and I think as this young group like progresses, they're going to need guys to like Vinny to kind of pave the path in terms of the environment in there.
Yeah, so if you want to read more about that, go check out the latest story from Alec up in The Athletic, from him being a baseball narc to turning a triple play at an age that he shouldn't have been turning a triple play in T-ball or whatever. There's just a lot of good little nuggets like that. So if you're you know, I have a hard time imagining being in this place, but if you're in a place where generally you have lost some of the joy of baseball this season because losing is a hard thing to watch a significant number of times, and maybe not all the fun storylines have brightened up your day. If you, not me, but if someone else had that feeling, I would imply that this story and Vinny Pasquantino's details here will give you something to be excited about. Here's a fun anecdote for you, Alec. This story now has the first chunk of a story of yours that I have ever sent to fiancée Renee, which is just the Bilbo Baggins thing, because I think she'll be stunned to find out that the Royals have a theater kid playing baseball for them now. Like I just think that's going to he's a crossover star.
And the thing that, well, thank you for sending it to her. First of all, it means a lot.
Thanks for writing it to her interests. You know, like that. You did good work.
The thing, like, I was like, where do I fit this in here? Like, I mean, that's the reality. Like, obviously, I was trying to like set up, like, okay, he's a funny guy because he is. Like, there's like different levels of funniness in baseball and with baseball players, and like Vinny's like legit funny, not like baseball funny. Like he's just like. He's funny. And so I've got this anecdote of him, like, wanting to be the love interest in Dracula in the school play. And I'm like, where do I put this in there between his T-ball days or his ability to track curveball? Like, it just made – and my editor was like, yeah, I mean, I don't really know. I was like, me either. This is kind of a different one for me. So we just kind of stuck it right in there, third section or something. I don't know.
I'm just glad it made the cut. It just good details in here. So go read about Vinny Pasquantino. There are a few things, past, recent trade and potential future ones. I don't know how much you have to unpack around Carlos Santana. They ended up finding a team that wanted to acquire him. They sent him in cash to the Mariners. I don't know if you'll even have this off the top of your head, but I did see around the trade, some people were kicking around how often or how rarely the Royals have, also sent money with a player to a team that would, they'd help pay for their contract. I think that the assumption there was that it was Mike Minor and now Carlos Santana, both John Sherman, ownership group there. But what did you take note of in that trade? The pitchers they got back, anything there that's half as interesting as what they might do next?
I think the most interesting part was how Carlos Santana went from one of the worst hitters in the game from April 7th to the end of May to arguably the Royals' best hitter in June. And the shift is attributed, from my reporting, and who I've talked to Alec Zumwalt, who obviously stepped in as like the lead hitting guy at the big league level, and realizing that, okay, Carlos is really struggling against fastballs. And why is that? Well, he's making contact too late in terms of the ball traveling toward the plate. And so let's shift his contact point forward and apply some drills to his pregame routine to make more contact earlier against fastballs. And so I think his OPS against fastballs was in the 400s before June. It was like 993 in June. And so that tangible adjustment, kind of unlocking Carlos Santana, I think is the reason the Mariners and other teams were interested. And I think the multiple teams' interest drove up the value that ultimately became the two pitchers. Now, I don't know how these guys will turn out. I mean, one guy's like a real sidearm, interesting kind of stuff guy, but not great velo, and the other guy's a young pitcher who we'll just have to see in terms of his development. But I think that Carlos Santana recouped anything is a win, obviously for the Royals, but even more so probably for Alec Zumwalt and the hitting staff at the big level. And it's not surprising because these guys have really made an impact in the organization on the hitting side since 2019 in a way that there have continuously been tangible results, and I think that's what you want to see. That's what we continue to see. Kyle Isbell's made some adjustments and done some stuff in the past couple nights at the plate, and so I just think you could see that the Royals are in pretty good hands right now on the hitting side with what Alec Zumwalt has brought. Now we'll see if he stays in that role or how they'll approach that long term, but I just think it's very important to me to highlight that Carlos Santana in May and at the end of May, it was hard for I think a lot of people just imagine. I had scouts this is not. I don't even know why they're still rolling with this, but to their credit, they did and acquired two pitchers from it.
The Zumwalt discussions that I've been anywhere around have all sounded pretty similar, which generally has included people going out of their way to highlight what he has done in a positive sense in a baseball blink of an eye. It just, this was a relatively recent adjustment. We've now seen, like you said, the changes that were brought there for Santana, what the entire lineup has been able to do. And not everyone, MJ Melendez had a down month when you want to give it. He's also brand spanking new. So that could have happened at any point in a guy's first professional season. I'm not holding too tightly onto that one. But whenever you look at him in particular, with Zumwalt in particular, what is the organizational impact? You say, you mentioned that you're not even sure what the long-term plan with him is going to be, but he is quickly becoming one of the guys who I feel like maybe a majority of Royals fans still do not know the name of, but that will or at least should change pretty soon.
Yeah, it's so fascinating, right? Because when these coaches, when things aren't going well, everybody knows the name.
Yes.
But it's when things are I've said the names Alec Zumwalt, Drew Saylor, and Keone Duran probably 7 billion times over the past 3 years to try to kind of impress upon people what they have done on the hitting development side, because the industry has talked about it, the industry has taken note of it, and I think what kind of separates Alec Zumwalt is he's just such a relational person. He's very tied with the front office. He played in Atlanta and got to know a lot of guys then, but he was a scout kind of during the World Series runs, an advanced scout, kind of picking up certain tendencies of other players. And then in 2019, when they needed somebody to kind of spearhead the hitting efforts, they placed him in charge of it all. And he got on the phone with a lot of people, George Brett, Chipper Jones, and certain people, and kind of with the help of again, Drew Saylor and Keone Duran and Mike Tozar, they kind of revamped the whole thing. And he just has an ability to connect with players. Guys like Bobby Witt Jr. and guys like Vinny Pasquantino. And I think that has kind of, when you have in that role, obviously these guys are big league hitters for a reason. So they I mean, they can evaluate themselves. But if you have a guy you trust to the level that some of these players trust Alex Zumwalt, I think you can create actionable change much quicker. And so I think that's what he's been able to do. And like I say, the value's tough to gauge because, I mean, it's tough. Like, you want to get you want to be able to kind of, I guess, like, have someone with keen eyes on the big league club every single day. Is that more valuable than the 100 or so hitters in the system that you want to try to keep tabs on and develop? It's just kind of a difficult thing to, I don't know, think about, like, where his impact is fit most. I think preferably you'd be able to, like, cross the chasm between both and move around. But if the relationships are at such a level at which it's fit for him to be there, I think it's hard to imagine him moving. But he's also got 5 young kids, and I don't know, life things I'm sure play a role. So we'll see. But it's just been apparent since 2019 that he's had a plan and a way of looking at hitting and an ability to kind of integrate some of the analytical stuff. And I think all of that combined with his ability to relate to players it's stood out.
If it wasn't nearing trade season, I would take the very easy pivot over to the pitching side of things because you wrote about that recently, and there's some, like, figuring out where things have gone exactly wrong, but I feel like it would just end up in a place we're talking about coaching changes again. I'm kind of bored by that at this point, to be honest. And so I would rather ask you one thing that is really frustrating to me that I think that there's probably an aspect of this that maybe I'm not being fair enough to. So whenever you see, or you yourself, I guess, are one of the ones hearing things about Whit Merrifield, like there are teams that at some point had been interested. You get a really brutal stretch, and now we're at this point where, depending on when you open your Twitter timeline, you might find trade Whit, bench Whit, give him his day off, any variety of all of those things. I'll save my take for after your answer, so I can really take your info in. But when should the Royals have traded Whit Merrifield? Or when should they?
Man, no.
I've implied that was in the past.
No, it's definitely in the past. I mean, he's now, I believe, 32, and the production. Though, I mean, his production has dipped, but it's not as if. I mean, it's like some people have highlighted to me, like, his exit velocities and certain stuff, but he's never been a guy who's just ripped the cover off the ball. He just has a really good, really good hand-eye coordination, bats the ball to be able to flick pitches wherever. And also, he's now been a part of, I think this is like the 5th losing season, and he's just a really competitive guy, so it's tough to gauge. Now, back to your question, when should they have traded him? I mean, I don't know. I started covering the team in 2019, and I remember, like, the point at which it seemed really, I don't know, like, possible was the winter of 2019. I remember the winter meetings in San Diego, and I'm not, like, reporting that there were – I just remember rumors at that time and what he'd done. I think he was an all-star that year, and what he'd done at that time, it seemed like, okay, he's 29 or 30 and still kind of in his prime. And I know offers had existed before that point. And so I think, I don't know, it's always difficult in this situation because the team is trying to gauge its next contention window. And if they think they're close, then you obviously, and you look at how it lines up with certain guys' contracts, then you hold on. But I also always say this. Like, when I'm evaluating whether a team trades a player or not, what is the most important bit of context to that question? It's what the other teams are offering.
Yep.
And often, that's the one thing we don't know and rarely ever get to know.
Yep.
And so, for as much as people criticize certain trades or lack of trades, they do it without the most important bit of context. And so, again, like, criticism would never tell anybody not to criticize. Anybody has the right to do it, but it's just the reality is we just don't have all the probably the most integral piece of information to be able to evaluate whether that was the right decision or not. I don't know if that's like somewhat skirting around your question, but I just think multiple years ago was probably the ideal situation. Easy to say in hindsight, but I think if their contention window was always going to be 2022, 2020, well, it's not 2022, but if they thought it was 2022, 23, 24, and the offer was good in 2019, I think that it could have made sense. And I don't know, I haven't had this strict this exact conversation with staffers with the team recently, but I think they might even admit it as well. Just looking at the way this year's played out.
So yeah, because I think what you just touched on a totally fair thing to keep in mind, and then also the exact thing that does have me like just wanting to rip my hair out. Because you're right, if the best offer for Whit Merrifield in 2019 was a ham sandwich, that would have been the wrong time to trade Whit Merrifield. He brought more value back to your franchise than that by being on the team. That is totally fair, and we don't know that, and we have the benefit of hindsight. But also, whenever you look at your future and you say, hey, we still think Whit Merrifield's 33, basically 33 and a half right now. And if you say we think that a 33-year-old Whit Merrifield or a 32 or a 31 or a 30-year-old Whit Merrifield is going to play playoff baseball for us, then yeah, you don't want to kick your contention window down the road by a few more years because you've made that bet on yourself. But also, then this is the consequence of being wrong about when you're contending. And for me, that is the thing that for literally as long as I have been on this radio station, I have been so confused by from the Royals, where their 500 teams were, so close to being World Series contending teams. And then their truly abysmal teams were, we're so close to getting back to 500. And now we're here, and it feels like the shine of that delusion is largely gone, at least for this season. And I just don't feel like I can just let that one slide because you are damaging your future by believing in a present that was not reality at that point. So but again, I don't want to be completely unfair in that, but I'm also left very frustrated because the idea that the Royals overvalued their own present and weren't transactional enough is something that I have been able to point to consistently for the last half decade or whatever.
Yeah, and I mean, look, all you have to do is look within the division at Cleveland. I mean, yes, they've had 2 walk-offs in straight days, so it's easy to kind of point. But I mean, for forever, this team has had studs who you might think would be integral to your next contending team. We could go on: CC Sabathia, Cliff Lee, Victor Martinez, Mike Clevenger, Trevor Bauer. I mean, these guys were Corey Kluber were studs. And yet, even as they probably hoped at contending in those years they traded them to retool, replenish, keep pushing forward, multiply. I mean, that's the reality, and maybe it's unfortunate or not, but the reality is with small markets, it's kind of the way you have to do it because to just rely on homegrown talent in the draft and the international market is really, really difficult just because it's just, I mean, you're betting on guys 16 to 21 years old, and that's a really tough bet to make. So yeah, it is. I mean, I don't know. I've said it and thought about it. I think it's one of those things. Whether this or this these next couple of years pan out or don't, I think holding on to guys like Whit Merrifield will be something that we will look back on for better or worse and talk about, I think.
I'm not intentionally tipping my hand by segueing from that to this, but what do you think the Royals' plan is with Andrew Benintendi right now?
Trade him.
Okay.
I mean, he's gone at the end of the year. He's going to be a free agent. He's still really young, and he's a really good hitter. And so he'll have a lot of value in free agency. So, I don't know if they'll trade him sooner or later in terms of, but I think just his production as a left-handed bat and a capable left fielder means they'll trade him. And I think, I mean, look, we've talked about, I've talked about this with multiple people, but you package like a guy like Andrew Benintendi with the Scott Barlow, I think you start talking about a really, really solid return package. I'm actually did something with our Brewers writer today about just a package for Andrew Benintendi. I think that'll run tomorrow, but we just kind of kicked around the thought. And I mean, look, like I think as valuable as Benintendi is, what Michael A. Taylor's done this year is incredibly would be incredibly valuable to a contending team as well. So there's they have a lot of options here to trade, which is positive. Now it's again until the trades occur or don't. It kind of will guide, I think, everybody to the types of returns that exist for these types of players with these types of control.
Alec, I appreciate you making some time for us here on an off day. I know this is also your off day, and so I don't know what you've done. Just make sure you call your mom tonight, okay?
I actually need to do that. I was about to go to Chick-fil-A, and so, yeah, really culinary, really I don't even know what I'm saying.
Hey man, listen, if all you can do right now sandwich wise is go to drive-thrus, I actually have a book at home. Whenever I get back, I can send you a couple recipes. I got like 300 to choose from.
Have you made any yet?
I haven't. I have not. It's really been I've really been ashamed of myself, but I have not. I need to plan it out to get the appropriate groceries and everything. So I'll pick some like this weekend. These are going to be my first ones to try.
Don't feel pressured. I'm not trying to pressure you.
No, I love sandwiches.
You want a
this
sandwich?
isn't.
Okay.
No,
okay.
This is not. I don't feel bullied to eat. I've never in my life have I felt bullied to eat a sandwich.
Oh boy. Okay. Well, I'll call my mom. I definitely will, and I'll let her know that you are planning to put together an apricot chutney turkey on rye.
I'm a big sourdough guy. So I think I'm going to see if I can find some sourdough-based ones in there. I love some sourdough.
I'm sure. There's like 300.
Yeah,
okay.
It would be wild if she had 300 sandwich recipes and they were all on pumpernickel. It's like, wait a second, hold on.
The pumpernickel book.
Your mom is bought and paid for by Big Pumpernickel. This is ridiculous. Done with this pumpernickel propaganda. Hold on.
Man.
Hold on. Whenever you call your mom, just suggest, just say, hey, mom, book title idea, pumpernickel propaganda. It rolls off the tongue, and just see if she wants to do anything with that.
Yeah, that's spectacular. That's really good.
All right. Look, man, just get your appetite back, and your. How many games have the Rose played right now?
Not enough.
Okay.
74, maybe.
All right. Well. I was going to say that, you're about halfway there. That's not quite true, but don't think about that. Don't think about that. Take it one day at a time, one game at a time, and we'll chat again soon.
No doubt. Thank you, Josh. I appreciate it, and I look forward to hearing about your sandwich experience.
I look forward to making and eating my sandwich experience. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Alec Lewis of The Athletic. Follow him on Twitter at Alec_Lewis. You can also, hold on, I should have checked this earlier. You can follow his mom on Twitter at Allison Lewis, 1 L in Allison, 2 if you count the L in Allison and the L in Lewis. I don't want to confuse anybody, but I would say follow Alec if you'd like, but certainly want to follow his mom for some great cooking tips. Also, she has really strong opinions on trading Whit Merrifield.
Take the show with you wherever you go. Listen live on the You're listening to Almost Entirely Sports.
You know, Cal makes Brad call him dad. Can't call him coach.
Really?
He makes him call him dad in practice.
That's kind of bleeped up.
That is,
I don't like that.
That's kind of weird.
With Joshua Brisco.
Like, could you imagine Tyler Self calling Bill dad in practice?
No. I know plenty of KU fans that call him daddy, but that's different.
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Thanks again to Alec Lewis of The Athletic for joining us. Always a joy to talk to Alec, and also good to learn about Vinny Pasquantino's acting career. I don't think I can properly explain how hilarious that is to me and how happy it makes me. So,
it's really cool. And again, like we've talked about this before. Alec is really good at covering the Royals, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just like from a day-to-day beat writer stuff. The features he writes, though, like on these players and stuff, and especially a lot of times the minor league players, like going to their homes, right? Going to whatever small town they're playing baseball in. Fantastic at that.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's where he shines.
We will talk more Royals in a little bit. David Lesky of Inside the Crown will join us in 15 minutes. And I want to talk to him about some of the mechanics of Pasquantino, and we'll talk about the pitching more with him probably as well, trade stuff, all of that. But as we mentioned during the first hour of the show, along with all of the fun NBA stuff, we lean in there because I'm a Suns fan, Rudy's a Nuggets fan. It's been a fun NBA day.
It's fun.
But the news that is going to have ripple effects through college football is also truly massive. USC and UCLA are officially moving to the Big Ten. They will begin playing in the Big Ten in 2024. Obviously, they're in the Pac-12 right now. PAC is short for Pacific. Yeah, the C's in those are short for that's California. You got Los Angeles, Southern California.
Is the G in Big Tens that's global, right?
More and more, that's actually as good of a joke as I was going to get because I really couldn't come up with one. It's called the Big Ten because they've got teams in 10 different time zones now. You might say, Josh, there aren't 10 different time zones in America. And I say 10 different time zones, period. Eventually, NFL Europe is going to come back, and it's just going to be the Big Ten.
College football is a thing in Japan.
Is it really?
Yeah. They play college football.
I didn't know that at all.
I followed the Reddit college football account, and every now and then they'll post out whenever they're playing scores and links. So you can watch them live. You can stream them if you want.
All right, let me just Google that so I can watch that during a break or something. You said Japan?
Yes.
I would like to see that. Okay, interesting. I had no idea. I'll look into that later. That seems fun. But for the landlocked team, not even that because Hawaii is a powerhouse. But for the domestic college football, this is not only this isn't just two teams making a big move. In some ways, to me, and this can't totally be true because of the order the dominoes are falling, but this feels more impactful than Texas and OU leaving for the SEC. In this way, if you're thinking about that meme where one little domino falls and it knocks over increasingly larger and larger dominoes. You had college realignment that started years ago, and that moved a domino or two. Texas and OU falling is a big domino, and that the repercussions of that huge for, of course, the Big 12, the SEC, those teams, etc. But today, to me at least, felt like the next domino falling, an even bigger one, falling on top of a conference. Even more so, the Big 12, to their credit, at least put up the front of, we had a plan, we're fine, we're adding some teams here, we're gonna make this work, and then as long as there's still probably gonna be an odd conference out. It looked like it could have been the Big 12, but the Pac-12 here now seems like it is about to be ransacked, for lack of a better term. It seems like Oregon and Washington are maybe they just try to throw a dart over to the Big Ten and say, hey, we're over here also, can we come play football with you guys? And the rest of the conference is going to probably end up having to do something as an ugly duckling sort of conference, as you will, if you will.
You know, there are reports that the Big 12 is obviously, you might be interested in Arizona State, Colorado, and Utah, which from a Big 12 perspective makes sense.
They almost have to.
Yeah.
Because what it feels like now is happening is that, again, did you ever play those .io games? You can play them in your browser and stuff. There was one in particular, I'm sure it still exists, but it's you're just a big. You start off as a little dot, and you go around your computer screen. You eat little dots. You get bigger as you go.
Yeah.
Other players are theoretically controlling other increasingly growing dots.
A much more advanced version of Snake, essentially.
It's a Snake concept,
same
but you're a growing circle.
Yes.
Well, then you start interacting with other people playing. And if you're a bigger orb than they are, you can eat them and then grow their size, and you can continue to grow and play along the game. It seems like there's been little dots going here and there, but right now it feels like the Pac-12 is about to get sucked up by somebody else. And obviously the SEC is still. I think this still is true, even with what the Big Ten got accomplished today. The SEC is the biggest dot on the map. The Big Ten is clearly announcing itself as next up. And then if you are any of these other conferences that at least as of this moment, want to have an argument for being a football conference that matters, it seems like it's about to get bloody.
Yeah, I think, and this is, I think, essentially saying the same thing, maybe slightly different. I put both the SEC and the Big Ten kind of in their own tier.
Yes,
I think they
absolutely.
clearly separate those.
Yes,
but
I think it's SEC, Big Ten, tier change.
I clearly
yes.
think the SEC is
No
at the
question.
top of that tier. Big Ten, I don't know if the Big Ten is that far behind, but I also don't think it's a gap they can ever fully make up, because it's just it's the SEC, right? And
yeah.
The saying is
means more.
The saying is a joke.
Oh.
It's funny.
Yeah.
But there is some truth behind it, and part of that is just because
it just costs more.
They're
it just pays
there.
more.
Yeah. They're just there's an insanity to it all down there.
Yep.
And there's something about, while I was obviously surprised that Oklahoma and Texas were leaving for the SEC, or at least when it happened.
Sure.
Like, it also kind of always felt inevitable, I guess. And to the Big 12's credit, because I always just kind of assumed the Big 12 would fold. And
yes, I
you know what?
It seemed like they were going to be the ones that got picked off first. Absolutely.
And they added new teams, and something tells me, in terms of any sort of alliance or conferences coming together, just emerging, I feel pretty confident the Big 12 is going to be the one in charge, because they just hired a commissioner. And I think that guy probably has at least some sense of, the Big 12 is going to be a thing. We're not going to be absolved into another thing, and now I'm out of a job because there's no longer a conference to be a commissioner of. Could be wrong. It seems I feel pretty confident about that, and some of this is, and maybe right again. I thought the Big 12 was going to be the one to fold. They had teams, they survived. Maybe the Pac-12 we see over the next 2 or 3 days is able to pull off the same thing. I don't fully know what those teams are.
Right.
Now, what I will say is, you know what the Big Ten did? The geographical areas has always been kind of a fake thing to begin with.
Yeah.
But there's been a little bit of staying roughly in the same
Sure.
spot with some few exceptions.
The Big Ten said, F it.
The Big Ten has completely blown that door open.
That's true. You're
to
right.
Where
That's a good point.
No conference has to hide behind this.
Yeah.
The Big Ten is quite literally across the entire nation of the country.
Right.
And if I'm the SEC, I'm reaching out to Oregon and Washington. I'm reaching out to Stanford. I'm reaching out. I mean, obviously the ACC schools, it's close enough to their region, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's, you know what I mean? Like Clemson and North Carolina aren't really
closer
out of,
than California.
Yes, aren't really out. So if they add them, they're not really expanding region-wise. But if I'm the SEC, that's my move now. The Big Ten wants to spread across the country. I'm spreading across the country.
Yeah. And it seems like that's where it's going. Somebody tweeted out that it feels like there's about to be an ESPN conference and a Fox conference. Somebody had something along the lines. It would be. Somebody had something along the lines of, the Pac-12. And again, it won't go quite this simply, I don't think. But where the Pac-12 is eventually the Big Ten West. And then you have the Big Ten East, and then you have a conference championship game between the zombie Pac-12 and the more original Big Ten. I don't know.
And it should be noted, a lot of times, I think you'll agree with this. When we say a conference folding, it's not so much that the conference doesn't exist. It's just it's just the schools they have replaced them with. It's right. It basically be the Mountain West teams moving to the Pac-12, and the Pac-12 is the Pac-12 by name. But like
it means relegated out of the Power Five.
You are no longer the conference that we all thought. You may you may have the name, but basically every school is gone.
Oh yeah, no. If the
Big 12 with Iowa State, K-State, and Texas Tech, and then a bunch of AAC schools, right?
And now all of these conferences with numbers in their name don't have the right number number of teams. The branding is going to stick around because there's value to being the Big 10, the Big 12, the SEC, the Pac-12, whatever. How silly does the Pac-12 feel for being like, you know what, we're gonna redo our branding. We used to be the Pac-10. We used to be the Pac-10. We're going to add 2 teams. We're going to be the Pac-12
because we have 2 teams now. We got to go back to the Pac-10.
Right now they're just
2 weeks later we're the Pac-6.
I think and
then we're back up to the Pac-9.
How many teams are currently in the Pac-12?
10, right? Because they added Utah and Colorado get to 12. Now they're out UCLA and USC, so back to 10. I mean, technically it's still 12, but they're going to 10.
I guess that's right.
And
it's wild,
eventually
man.
It's the Pac-6, and then they get up to the Pac-9, and then maybe the Pac-6-9. Who can say? That'd be pretty nice.
It's wild times, and we'll see where that all ends up. But yeah, the Power 5 is going to be less of a Power 5. It's going to be a Power 2 or 3, and we'll see where that leads you. You know where I'd like to lead you?
Like a mini Power 3. The Big 10, SEC, and then just some third conference that is technically in there. They're part of the alliance that isn't really, that everybody just knows they're just here.
Rudy, that's such a good idea. I'd love to give you an award for it. Perhaps an honorary ESPY, which you can vote for right now at 810WHB.com. And our honorary ESPY coverage here on Sports Radio 810 WHB is brought to you by Hen House, Wholesale Batteries, Polymagic, Buck Roofing, Amini's, Xfinity Sports, and many more. Xfinity Sports Zone, excuse me. And also our friends at Whataburger. Lots of great sponsors helping us get these honorary ESPYs going. If you'd like to vote on them, you can do so at 810WHB.com. We'll talk some baseball with David Lesky next.
You are listening to Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Firework Mania Superstore is now open with a huge selection at the best prices. 3 miles south of Olathe on Highway 169. They have the coolest thing you'll ever see, Pyro Scan. Just scan the barcode and watch the fireworks before you buy them. Check them out online at firework-mania.com. The Firework Mania Superstore is the nicest fireworks store you've ever seen. Located just 3 miles south of Olathe on Highway 169.
For NFL action, there's only one station to follow all season long. Sports Radio 810 WHB. Sports Radio 810 is the home of NFL Sundays, Thursday, Sunday, and Monday Night Football. And Sports Radio 810 is your home for the NFL playoffs. Follow the NFL on Kansas City's hometown radio station, Sports Radio 810 WHB.
The nominations are in. Now is the time for you to vote for Kansas City's most outstanding players and coaches. ESPN and Sports Radio 810 WHB have partnered once again to award our hometown stars with honorary ESPY awards. We've taken hundreds of nominations in 16 categories, and the finalists have all been chosen. Go to 810WHB.com to vote for your favorite clutch performance and so much more. Cast your votes today at 810WHB.com.
Own the outdoors with Masterforce Power Equipment. Hurry in and save 11% on all Masterforce at Menards. Take on heavy-duty dirt and debris with Masterforce electric pressure washers. They're built to take on the toughest cleaning tasks. All Masterforce electric pressure washers are 11% off. Get 11% off everything now at Menards. Good through July 4th. Savings or mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
Swim, bike, run. It's time for the Matt Mason Memorial Cowboy Up Triathlon August 7th at Smithville Lake. If you've ever thought about doing a triathlon, then this is the event for you. It's the most patriotic triathlon in the Midwest and a great way to test yourself on a relatively easy course. Don't want to swim? Put a team together and make your buddy do the swim. It's the Matt Mason Memorial Cowboy Up Triathlon August 7th at Smithville Lake. Go to cowboyuptriathlon.com and register today.
Attention! This is a special alert for all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an overpriced auto warranty or no warranty coverage at all. Due to the increase of new and used car prices, repair costs, and the price of gas, people are keeping their cars longer than ever, which is why CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on covered auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can save thousands for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. You could save thousands on future auto repairs. Our specialists are standing by for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-760-8196. Vehicle protection plan pricing is at an all-time low. Plus, drivers who purchase this coverage today will receive rental car options, free roadside assistance, and free towing. Call 800-760-8196 now for your free quick quote. That's 800-760-8196. What do you have to lose? Call 800-760-8196. Again, 800-760-8196.
For NFL.
Sports Center.
Hello there. I'm Mark Robbins. In the hours before free agency began today, Kevin Durant officially asked the Brooklyn Nets for a trade 48 hours after Kyrie Irving said he wanted to play his final season in Brooklyn. And KD said no with 4 years left on his deal. He's given the Nets a list of teams he'd like to go to. So what now for Kyrie? At one point, he had KD and James Harden playing with him. Now he's got Patty Mills, who re-signed with the Nets today, agreed to terms. Can Brooklyn trade Irving? ESPN's Brian Windhorst says, well, not for much.
Talking league executives over the last couple hours, the value of Kyrie Irving in a trade has absolutely plummeted. They know that he's going to be a pure rental. If he doesn't want to go to the situation he's been going to, it's unclear what he will do. He hasn't even been motivated to play in places he's wanted to be, much less in places he doesn't want to be.
That's Brian Windhorst on ESPN Sports Center. It is the start of free agency, as we talked about. Plenty of guys are getting deals done quickly. Jalen Brunson expected to sign with the Knicks, a deal for 4 years, roughly $110 million. The Wizards are going to keep Bradley Beal as he agrees to a 5-year, $251 million deal. And Lou Dort re-signs with Oklahoma City. It's going to be 5 years and $87.5 million. The Big Ten presidents and chancellors unanimously vote to accept UCLA and USC for membership beginning in the fall of 2024.
Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max.
We're going to start talking about James Harden a little bit differently, becoming one of the leaders of this team. And it starts with him turning down the option.
It's Friday with KJ and Max. It all starts at 6 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ESPN2.
You're listening to Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco.
I got a woman to give me $50 because I told her I was Mike Sweeney, and she believed me.
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
We'll keep talking baseball, or at least some of the things that go on around baseball adjacent things now with our friend David Lesky. You can read his work up on RoyalsReview.com. I always mention it second, so today I decided to mention Royals Review first. But also the Substack, InsideTheCrown.substack.com. I mention this every time as well. Their new app is great. Their mobile app on iOS is excellent, so download that if you haven't. You can read it all for free. It's a freebie for you if you'd like. But the content's so good. You if you ever run into Lesky, you might just slap a $20 bill onto his forehead. That might be assault. I don't know. But if it's got you know what, Lesky, I'll let you speak for yourself. Would you let somebody come on and not, this isn't, not aggressively, but if somebody walked up to you and kind of gave you like a slap on the forehead with the attempt to stick a $20 bill there, would that ultimately even out emotionally for you? Would that still be a positive experience because you got $20?
20 or higher. Yeah. No,
okay.
I mean, if it's a 5, I'm probably going to hit you back.
Okay.
But if it's a 20, yeah, I'll say thanks and move on.
Is a 10 perfect neutral then?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I'd hit somebody back with a 10, and I would absolutely. I mean, I'd take the 5 too. So,
right.
Well, let's not.
Money's
let's not
yours.
like
Yeah.
I wouldn't. Yeah. But I might like growl or something. I don't know what the appropriate like non hitting back response is. But look, I'd take $1 if you want to slap it on my forehead. I'm just gonna be really angry.
What does your growl sound like?
I don't know. I've never growled at somebody. I'm not sure what the appropriate response is.
Okay.
Because on one hand it's $10, on the other hand somebody hit me in the head.
All right, so I'm gonna slap the microphone, for the sake of the Foley work. You're just gonna have to try to close your eyes and imagine that thump is smacking you, but also you're $10 richer, and then let's just sort of see what growl response comes out.
Okay, this is gonna be weird, but we'll see what happens.
All right, here we go. And quiet on the set and action.
I don't know. I think that seems angry enough, right?
You didn't commit to it as much as I wanted you to, but that's okay. We can edit that out. No, that's okay. It's still going to work as a liner.
I didn't feel it.
True.
I tell you what. Next time I'll come in studio, you'll hit me in the head, and we'll see what I do.
When you come in studio, I think the exchange rate's okay. I think I could slap you with $25 in jazz bucks.
Let's see that. Yeah, that should work. That's about $10.
That's directly interchangeable for delicious food. So honestly, I would get slapped for jazz bucks for sure.
If people want to pay me for Inside the Crown and jazz bucks, I will take that as well.
Yeah, jazz is great. I haven't. It's been too long since I've been.
It's been way too long.
I got some jazz bucks burning a hole in my wallet actually that I really. They're not open like after this show ends. I don't think. Right? Okay. Well, I'll figure it. I got to get my way back after jazz. Anywho. Are you just fully Royals playoff race is on back in contention because they did win a baseball game, or has your spirit been large? We talked to Alec last hour, and I want the spark to come back into his eyes at some point. But I feel like you still might have a little bit of life in there, right?
Yeah, I mean Alec might have some dead eyes. The thing, the Royals are 27-47, but if they keep up their pace of the last day. They will win 115 games. This is not a drill, guys. They are on pace for 115 wins if they continue the way they played on Wednesday.
You believed that even less than you believed the growl that you did.
Yeah, I know. I tried. Look, you wanted hope. I provided words.
No, let's do this. I got it. I'm going to bring us back around because I just feel like it's so hard to start anywhere other than something vaguely negative around the Royals right now. And we're going to get to it. Most of the Royals stuff is negative. You look at their record. I would say that they are appropriately, their record is appropriate to how they make me feel right now. But I don't always want to do that. It's no fun. So I do. Let's talk about Vinny Pasquantino some. Because he is here. They did trade away Carlos Santana. They did get something in return there as well. There's something to sing about if you'd like on that front. But I am so interested in Pasquantino both as a hitter and also as a theater kid, which also was a conversation topic with Alec that just makes me very happy. But I'm curious what you see whenever you look at all these traits. You talk about his mastery of the strike zone and what he's been able to do as not an absolute pristine the 300 something overall pick if you're doing all that math, probably deeper into the threes.
I looked it up earlier.
319. I feel pretty good about that as my dart throw. I feel like this is a fun story and that he's a fun player, but I want to understand better what it is that makes him special.
Well, I mean, first of all, you're right. Let's be positive, and let's give the Royals some credit, because that is an 11th round pick that they turned into a legitimate prospect.
Yeah.
Look, 11th round picks make it. It's not like it's not Gerard Dyson in the 50th round or Mike Piazza in the 62nd round. But the Royals and their change in offensive development in the minors, maybe he would have made it anyway, but let's give the Royals some credit there. Yes. They turned him into a place that I don't remember where I saw this, but Baseball Prospectus was going to put out their midseason list. And I think I saw that Pasquantino was going to be top 20 in all of baseball.
That's wild. Yeah, that's incredible.
This is a guy who, when he was drafted, was organizational bat.
Yeah.
So, big props to the Royals on that. What's so intriguing about him, and I think we saw it in his first at-bat yesterday, the first plate appearance, I should say, because it was a walk. He was 0 for 4 in his Major League debut. I think he saw 6 pitches.
Mm-hmm.
He hit the ball hard a couple of times. He did not swing and miss. And he also did not swing and miss yesterday. But he comes up in his 5th big league plate appearance with 2nd and 3rd, 2 outs. And I don't know what percentage of players who are in their first 20 plate appearances would not be over-eager to try to get a hit, try to drop a ball on the left field or right or wherever and drive in 2 runs. I would guess that percentage of those who would be maybe not over-swinging, but maybe a little over-aggressive would be above 90%. And he took 6 pitches because, you know what? There wasn't a single one he could do damage on. That's why he took them. I mean, I would assume. I didn't get to talk to him after the game. But they were all – 5 of them were out of the strike zone. The 6th may have been – 2 of them were called strikes. Whatever. He walked. But that right there is – that's the approach we see from MJ Melendez. That's the approach we'll eventually see from Nick Pratto. That's an approach we sort of see from Andrew Benintendi. Not that he's a product of the system, but we're starting to see that approach at the plate. And honestly, we're kind of starting to see a little bit from Bobby Witt. I've noticed there are still some swings out of the zone, and he's never going to be the 15% walk guy. That's just not his game. But I've noticed from him, too, that there's been some sliders away that he was just wailing at early in the year. And so with Pasquantino, just to get back to him, what he did in that at-bat was what you can expect. It's a professional at-bat. That's what it is, and that's the sort of thing that allows players to succeed in the majors. He doesn't have the best tools. I mean, he's not going to win a race. He's not the best defender. He's just not that athletic of a guy, but he can hit, and he knows the strike zone. He knows what he can hit, and that's what's going to lead him to succeed. And I think it's going to be fun to watch. I can't remember what year it was with the Twins, and there's other teams too, but for some reason the Twins jumped out. Maybe 19 when they hit all those home runs. Maybe it was even earlier. It felt like going through that lineup was exhausting to watch because every single at-bat was a good at-bat. And I feel like the Royals are kind of almost starting to get there. Not every single at-bat. They're not there yet. But you look up and down the lineup, and it's a little better. And it gets better every time they add somebody from that system because their offensive development is good now. It's nice to see. It's nice to be the one causing people to be exhausted, not the one on the other end of the exhaustion.
Well, yeah, and this is something you mentioned it last time, a week or two ago, whenever we talked last, and you know, you can kind of just give us a Cliff's Notes version if you want, even, but it's a concept that has stuck with me. The idea of quality of pitches not just being balls and strikes or just getting your bat on a ball and trying to get it into play, but spitting on pitches that maybe it'll be a called strike, but you weren't going to drive that ball anyway. And so ultimately the value of you swinging there on a 1-0 count or whatever, not actually a valuable ball to swing at. Again, that's something that I just explained really poorly in hopes that you would explain it better because it's something that people should listen to, I think.
Well, yeah, I mean, there are pitches that you can drive and pitches that you can't drive. And sometimes the pitches you can't drive are strikes. And it's the whole concept, and they talk about this in the broadcast sometimes. One of the things that I actually agree with, because that is rare. I feel like I agree with what they talk about on the broadcast. But it's the first two strikes are the hitters, and then the third strike is the pitchers. You're going to have to swing at a pitch that you can't drive, potentially. But on those first two strikes, if you have the confidence to hit with two strikes, look, that's why Nick Prado's strikeout rate is pretty high in AAA, but his swinging strike rate isn't terrible. I mean, it was, I don't know what it is today. Last time I looked a couple days ago, it was 11.7%, I believe.
Close enough. However much it's moved since then, I forgive you on the rounding error.
Right. I'm sure it's not very different. And he's hit a couple of home runs since then. So that's not a crazy swinging strike rate, but his strikeout rate is like 31% because he gets into counts, and maybe he might even be a little bit too passive at the plate. He might need to be a little more aggressive. But there's these. If you go on Baseball Savant and you look at the attack zones in their search, you can see it. You can see a grid of it. There's heart, there's shadow, there's chase, and there's waste. You never want to swing at a waste pitch because that's Salvador Perez territory. The chase pitch, you hope you don't get caught in because you're going to be on pitching ninja if you swing at that. But those are often good pitches, so pitchers are good. Give them credit. Then there's the shadow zone, and a lot of that shadow is in the strike zone. But some hitters can do damage there. It is not hard and fast. There was a great article on Baseball Prospectus maybe 3 weeks ago talking about how different hitters have different hearts of their plate. And so it's not a hard and fast rule. You know, that you might look at a guy swinging the shadow zones, and that's where his hot zone is. So, okay, good for him. But for the most part, and to be very generic, that spot in the center, the heart of the plate, that's where you want to swing. And with we talked about a couple weeks ago with the new hitting coaches, that's one of the biggest things they preach. And the Royals' swing rate on shadow pitches is down, and the success on pitches in the heart are up. So, and that's what they do in the minors. They're not going to swing at that pitch because they can't hit it to the fence. I mean, they might, but typically they can't. And that's what Pasquantino does. And like I said, that's what we've seen it with Melendez. He slumps a little bit, so the numbers don't look great, but the walks are there. I mean, he had 6 straight games of the walk or something. That's what we'll see with Prado. That's what we'll see with Tyler Gentry. You know, I'm not naming names here, but they do a really nice job of teaching that in the minors, and so we're going to start to see that come through more and more in the majors.
This is this is an ADD follow-up question, not a how does this relate to the Royals question. I would ask you this during a break if you were in studio, but we're here, so I'm going to just go there. With all of that in mind, was Vladimir Guerrero driving balls that he shouldn't have been able to drive because he was an alien? Was he an alien that was able to just find spots in the field for those pitches to go to? Was he not actually wailing away at some of those as often as it seemed like? And I just remember that because I was like 12 years old whenever he was playing. I just remember Vladimir Guerrero being awesome.
He was, but here's the thing. His arms, I think his wingspan was like 14 feet. So that didn't hurt him that he was able to get to some of those pitches. Yeah, there are freaks. And look, Salvador Perez is a freak. He swings too much, 100%. And I think even he would tell you that, but he just doesn't stop.
Yeah.
But he can hit balls that you should not teach.
For sure, absolutely.
Just don't watch Salvador Perez. Enjoy it, but do not emulate that. And Vladimir Guerrero was like that. It's funny because his son, Vlad Jr., is like the opposite. He is so patient, and he is the guy who he can do some stuff out of the strike zone too. But he's the guy who's going to spit on that pitch, and he's going to say, "I don't care if it's 0-2. I'm going to hit a home run on 0-2."
Yeah.
And then he does because he's facing the Royals.
Right.
But yeah, so that to me is crazy. Like I don't know how old Salvador Perez's kid is, but when he gets to the majors, and has like a 17% walk rate,
Yes.
my head's gonna explode.
Yes, he's gonna walk like prime Barry Bonds, which also is one of those things that eventually every baseball conversation to me like eventually ends up to Barry Bonds, Vladimir Guerrero, or Derek Jeter, maybe just players who were important to me at that time in my life. So I'm just curious.
Weird. One of those three doesn't feel like they belong.
Yeah, I understand.
One of those three might have been like a little overrated and won a bunch of awards that maybe you shouldn't have, only because he jumped one.
No, that's a great point, Rudy. Barry Bonds did cheat, and we should really point that out. I think Lesky might try to fight me on this. I just can't abide by Derek Jeter slander on this show. I totally understand that. I've never tried to be objective about almost any baseball from that era, which I'm cool with.
I'm okay with slandering Jeter for what it's worth.
I know you would be, and you know what? I'm okay with you slandering Derek Jeter. I'm just not going to.
Lesky, you probably know this, but there's a chance you might, because I don't know if we've ever talked about it. So I've been in Josh's childhood bedroom.
Pause. Just give that a second. Let that one breathe. Go ahead.
And
I have questions. We'll talk about that.
Please, if you would just please hold your questions until the end of the presentation, and then we'll take questions from the audience.
Around the walls, littered, were Yankees paraphernalia? Is that the right word?
Yeah, because
not
that's also
memorabilia.
No, paraphernalia is what you would say about drug stuff that you found in your kid's basement, and this is even more upsetting to you than if you were.
I assume there's a Yankees bong.
Yeah,
I mean there might have been. I wasn't able to find that.
Now I gotta Google Yankees bong on the company Wi-Fi. Thanks, Lesky.
The amount of
I'm sure it exists with the intersecting NY.
The amount of bobbleheads, pennants. Did you have wallpaper? Yankees wallpaper?
It was like the trim. It was half Chiefs, half
trim.
Yankees.
I was pretty sure it was half. It was a half and half. Yeah, it was shocking.
We will now take questions from the audience.
I don't even know where to start. Can I get like some time to think about this, and I'll just we'll talk about that later.
If you need to digest all of that, there's
just a lot there. Rudy in your bedroom.
Yeah.
Your childhood bedroom.
Childhood bedroom.
Yankees wallpaper. He's bong. I don't know. There's just a lot going on here.
No, there is.
He had that Barry Bonds bong. And it was...
I had my extensive collection. Here's the most shocking thing. I don't actually think is anything that Rudy said. I think it's that I loved baseball so much that my room, like I had a shelf that like ran around the edge of my room, like a ledge and shelves on the wall. Almost all of it was covered in baseball bobbleheads and action figures and the like, which again, to my current brand, that might be the most jarring thing.
That definitely hits me harder. I have a lot of thoughts, and I don't know where to start. So we can move on.
All right, that's fair enough. I'll give us a reset here. This is the last ever appearance on Almost Entirely Sports from David Lesky of Inside the Crown. Might be the last time he ever talks to me in person, in any form or fashion. Frankly, Lesky, I appreciate you just not hanging up after all of that, so you could have some time to sort of decompress.
Well, I'm here for you. This is your time, and I'm willing to give you what you need.
That's really, really broad. So, let me ask you about something that has bothered me recently in these conversations about Whit Merrifield. I will just give you my full sort of front end take here, which is that, man, I'm really sick of looking at the Royals and saying they should probably trade some of these guys when they're younger or have more control or have value that would make it a painful thing to trade them away, instead of waiting until their value, unflatteringly declines in front of everyone's eyes, or they age, et cetera, et cetera. But that also, this has been a front office that I think since winning the World Series, since the moment after winning the World Series, has misidentified their windows. Like, I think that's also almost certainly true. And so now that we're here talking about, like, should the Royals trade Whit Merrifield? I'm left frustrated because Whit Merrifield's going to have had a wonderful career here and played 0 truly meaningful baseball games, certainly 0 playoff games.
I would argue with that because they played like 7 meaningful games in 2017. So
that's about all that. You could at least, you know what, and I will eat those 7 games. It won't take me very long because there's not very many of them. And so, if I tend to exaggerate at all, I do apologize. It's a bad habit I've been working on since I was decorating my childhood bedroom. But I'm just left really frustrated because, like, oh yeah, no, they should have traded him sooner. And it's like, well, yeah, but there are consequences to that, and I am left underwhelmed. And you've written and tweeted plenty about the Royals needing to be more transactional, and that is something that is also really stuck with me in a way that I am left bothered by. I don't anticipate that you're about to give a full-throated defense of the Royals front office, like a full presidential pardon or whatever. But I am curious, genuinely curious, if there's anywhere that I am not being totally fair, because I think that you could make that case for those 500 seasons where I wanted them to just try to dump everybody and build for the future. They weren't going to, but I would have preferred it. Whatever. The value in return matters. I know that. But I'm curious if there's anything that I'm missing in that grander story leading to where they are now.
Well, I mean, I think a lot of people would argue that the smartest time to sell would have been after the World Series, which they're not wrong, but it's also just not going to happen. So
that would be my exact camp, by the way. Is I said from the jump that we were going to see some literally 500 baseball. We saw some 500 baseball, and I also don't fully begrudge them for not doing that because that would have been a tough sell. I understand that.
Yeah.
Everything after the true 500, it was 500 on the dot, and then one game under the year after, right? I don't have those flipped.
Yeah. Well, 2 games under. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. That would have been tough. They tied. They had one tie. I can't believe you don't remember that.
I do, actually. It was a wonderful day. It was warm.
It was warm. Yeah, anyway, that would be the camp that I would be in, which best business in retrospect would have been to sell then. It would have also infuriated everyone. And I understand. I don't hold them terribly culpable for that, I guess.
So here's the problem, and this is actually sort of a defense of the Royals, because in 2016, I don't know that they would have sold, but their two best pieces were Wade Davis and Lorenzo Cain, right? Both of them were hurt at the deadline.
Yep.
There were rumors that Wade Davis was going to go to Texas, and then somebody saw him at the airport, and he said, I'm going on the IL. I don't know why Wade Davis told him, whatever, doesn't matter. I don't remember the story entirely because it's been 6 years now, almost exactly, actually. And then word started to circulate, and the next day he went on I guess at the time it was the DL. And that was kind of that. That was the end of it. And then in 2017, it's easy to forget this because of how they finished. They were in a wild card spot at the deadline. They were in position for the playoffs at the deadline. They made some moves, which did not work. But to be honest, I didn't hate the moves they made. I didn't like getting Melky Cabrera. That one was kind of like, I don't really understand that. But I didn't.
Boy, Lesky, you could have. Rudy is also shaking his head in a way that you just reminded both of us of a park we went to in our childhoods that we had completely deleted from our memory.
Somebody said something about Melky Cabrera, and I was like, yeah, he was really good for the Royals in 2011. And then I thought, and not so good in 2017. I forgot that.
Yeah.
I remember when he came back to Kauffman to play in the All-Star game in 2014, but I forgot about the third stint in Kauffman.
Yeah, that wasn't so great. But they were in a playoff spot. And I'm not, I don't want to, I feel like at that point, when they have reached that point in with Eric Hosmer and Mike Moustakas and Escobar and Kane and all of them, to have sold when they were in a playoff spot would have been, I think, honestly, at that point, irresponsible. It did not work out, and then that's when the real trouble started.
Yes. I will give you that. I don't even want to fight you about it. I get it. I think that's totally fair.
And I think.
What about after that?
I think you can make an argument they should have sold after 2016 also. But, they didn't. And then they tried to, as everybody's talked about, serve two masters. They traded Wade Davis for Jorge Soler. They didn't trade. It's just, why are you doing some? And they traded Gerard Dyson for Nate Karns, which, not that Dyson was Wade Davis, but he was a solid piece on this team. But, yeah, and then the biggest culprit is Whit Merrifield, like you said, right now. They were going nowhere in 18 and 19, and even in 20.
21. In 22.
Yeah, but here's the problem with 21. Merrifield starts declining.
25.
And so wasting. Keep going.
No, we're done. You're good.
So they've wasted the opportunity because Merrifield, who they brought up probably a little too late,
Yep.
Which meant that the prime years they had at the big leagues were shorter. It's just kind of a hodgepodge of oops.
Yeah.
And you're right. I feel bad for the guy because he signed on and he said, I want to be a part of this. Now, if I remember correctly, so he came up in 2016. He didn't come up until the end of April in 2017 because the Royals decided they wanted Alec Mondesi instead of him to start the year. I believe this would have been his last year before free agency if he had just gone through arbitration. So it's not like he's signed on for more years than he would have. But I also think they made it a little more willing to trade him if he didn't sign. So, yeah, you kind of feel for that. And you wonder, too, what does Bobby Witt Jr. think when he sees that? You think, is that going to be me? I have to think that he would be more hopeful than that, but also maybe not. I don't know. Maybe he just says, look, I'm going to be here for 6 years, and I'm going to go sign with Texas or whatever and be done. I don't know. But they definitely have made that mistake, and I think on a smaller scale, if they don't trade Michael A. Taylor, that's a mistake. He is having his best season. This is when you trade players who are not core pieces.
Yeah.
Like, this is the time. Hunter Dozier. I like Hunter Dozier. I like Hunter Dozier a lot more than most people do. I think that's pretty obvious. And he is having a solid season. They need to move him.
Yep.
There are teams. Look, I think the Red Sox remain an absolutely perfect fit for Hunter Dozier. They have lefty outfielders who could use a platoon partner. They have a first baseman who can't hit. They have a DH who is going to be a free agent after the season, so 3 years of a relatively cheap contract left on Dozier would be useful to them. I mean, there's a lot to like from the Red Sox perspective about Dozier. Plus, that 314-foot line would treat him very well for half of his season. So they need to be making those moves. And if they can get something from Merrifield, do it. Now, he is clearly on the downside of his career. There is no other way to look at that. But I mean, let's go back to the minors. Michael Massey, he doesn't have the approach that like Melendez and Pasquantino and Prado do, but he had another home run for AAA today. He is hitting the snot out of the ball down there, and he has to be added to the 40-man roster this year. You know, he's a second base. Do it, get it done. Move Merrifield, get what you can for him, and bring up Massey. I don't have to be tomorrow, but. I mean, that makes sense. They need to. I have faith they're going to move Benintendi because they have to. They just don't have a choice on that matter, so they're going to. But Taylor, Dozier, Merrifield, it just makes sense. Makes sense to move them. It's almost like, hey, you built this system that is legitimately putting talent out there. I mean, they have They could use a center fielder. He's probably a third baseman. Massey played a couple games at third this week, actually. But they don't have somebody for everywhere. But they've got pieces all around the diamond. Trust your system. If you built this, then you should have no problem saying, hey, look, thanks for your service, Hunter. We really appreciate it. Enjoy your time in Boston or Philadelphia. Not Philadelphia. They can't afford another bad defensive player. But somewhere else, whatever. But it doesn't make any sense. And so his loyalty that you think is being so good to these players is actually hurting them. It's hurting them because it's not allowing the Royals to be as good as they can be, and it's not allowing these guys to get to the playoffs.
Yeah. It's like reverse Stockholm Syndrome.
Yes. It really is.
So that's all. I mean, yeah. So I was going to ask a minute ago if there's basically anybody over the age of 25, 26, 27, covered my bases, that you would not trade away who's not nailed down. You mentioned anyone who's not one of those core pieces, though. So I'm taking that for what you would do. Where are you at in terms of confidence that the Royals will do something in that category? Again, maybe it's not every single guy that isn't that isn't in one of their first couple years in the big leagues, but in terms of the super obvious ones like Benintendi, or the ones that are maybe a little less obvious, at least from the Royals' track record, like Hunter Dozier. What's your best bet as of right now?
Well, and don't forget Scott Barlow and Josh Salmont.
Yes.
Too. Salmont's on the IL, but
both
those guys. I mean,
are they both in their last years on their current
deals?
deals?
No. Barlow's through 24, I think.
Oh, I thought it was either half or a year and a half. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm cutting off my previous question to ask you this question then, because Rudy and I couldn't come up with the answer to this a show or two ago. When was the last time that the Royals traded someone with more than a rental amount of time left on their deal, meaningfully, like a player that hurt some?
Oh man, I mean, well, we don't have to go any farther back than Will Myers, obviously.
That was Rudy's answer for young guy for older guys. I'm wondering about the other way around as well.
Oh, selling a good player who has time on his contract.
Yeah, make it Barlow for somebody who isn't going to make an equal impact on the team for a year or two, right? Get him younger.
Off the top of my head, I cannot think of anybody. I'm sure there is someone that I'm just totally missing.
That's where we ended up, and the fact that you didn't go, oh, obviously it's this guy, makes me think that we're at least okay to say if it has happened to any player in recent memory, it is a rarity.
Oh, you know what?
Is there a stupid one?
It's Brett Phillips.
I almost made that joke last night. I came very close to making that joke.
Wow.
Yeah, because like the last player that I said that probably like Royals fan were bummed they traded, but also like he'd been with the team for a while. He went out. The contract was towards his end. Was that Greinke, right? That was the last like good player who he traded away.
Yeah.
But the fact that they just haven't had more of those guys. I mean, you're right.
They haven't had the player to trade.
Yeah.
But they also notoriously don't move these guys.
That's where my head has been at.
Because
Soria should have been moved back in the day.
And trading Witt 2 or 3 years ago would have a lot of the fan base would have been bummed, but like it was.
Yeah, but you know what? The fan base was really bummed when they traded Greinke, and they didn't care when they were at the parade.
Yes,
I mean,
exactly.
The reality is, it doesn't matter what the move is. If it gets you to win, nobody cares. Mm-hmm. Nobody. You could trade away prime George Brett, and if they win the World Series in 2 years, people are like, "Wow, he's playing really well in Cincinnati." Nobody cares. Like they just don't. And you know, I mean, they probably should have traded Salvi.
Yeah.
They probably should have. I mean, again, it's hard to go with the Hosmer and that because of the timing. But I mean, he didn't have a very good year in 2016. That didn't help. But also, that would have only been a year and a half anyway of him. But yeah, I mean, it might be Greinke if you don't want to count Brett Phillips there. But
I mean, I do.
That's like the saddest timeline.
I want to count Brett Phillips.
Okay,
that's Smile.
Because like last year, who did they even move? Oh, Soler.
Yeah.
This year it's Santana. It was Trevor Rosenthal in 2020, which I mean, it was a good trade. They had like Dylan Coleman and Edward Olivares. That's a good trade. Good job. 19, I don't think they had anybody good to trade anyway, other than Merrifield. So they didn't go. 18, same story. 17, they didn't. You know, they were buying from 13 to 17.
Right.
So it's been a while. Yeah.
The other name that popped to my mind was, and again, I don't know if this doesn't fully qualify because I don't think he didn't pitch. He hadn't been with the Royals that long, but Matt Strom, I remember, was a little bit like, oh, that was. They gave away a pretty young, talented pitcher who would perform in the big leagues.
He was also hurt when they traded him.
Yeah.
So that's.
But there are
the question could become when did the Royals last sell high, and that is probably Zach Greinke, and that's just been a hot minute.
Even that, like he had a bad year, not a bad from his standards.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah,
and he also forced the trade.
I would rather talk about Kevin Durant again now that you've said that. So yeah, Barlow does have 2 more years of arbitration after this one. So real quick then, like your confidence level that they will actually move somewhat aggressively with players who aren't just Andrew Benintendi, who you almost have no choice.
12%. I think that.
Cool.
And that's because I think that Michael A. Taylor could go with a year left after this year. I don't think they're – I don't know. Here's the problem, too. Who's making the decisions? Is it Dayton or is it JJ? I mean, I think we think it's Dayton, but we don't know that.
Yeah.
And we also don't – and if it's not Dayton, we don't know how JJ will operate.
Yeah, good point. Good point.
And so it's hard to know for sure.
Maybe we'll find out who's calling the shots the day after the trade deadline or the hour after the deadline. Maybe we'll know.
It's August 2nd this year, so don't get mad on July 31st. They pushed it back a couple days.
I'm gonna get.
I think I'm
hey,
gonna still get mad.
Let me get mad on July 31st. It might
Get
not
mad
be
about
baseball.
something else,
Yeah,
all right?
yeah, fine. That's fine. It's just an annual tradition for me at this point.
If they don't trade
Get
these
mad at me
guys
for my concert going, okay?
Oh damn it! I forgot I wanted to start by asking you how the Bare Naked Ladies work.
if the Royals
It
wait,
was. Hang on. It was Toad the Wet Sprocket, Gin Blossoms, and Bare Naked Ladies.
so say that again.
Toad the Wet Sprocket, Gin Blossoms, who, by the way, still sound really good. I'm shocked because the lead singer's got to be in his upper 50s at least.
Is
and
their
then Bare
month
Naked
though?
What did you say, Rudy?
It wasn't the June Blossoms. Is that what they said the band was?
Gin Blossoms.
Gin. I thought I heard June. I was
Man,
like,
you
well, it is their
can't
month.
cut him off for a joke when you didn't hear the name of the band correctly. I at least
Well,
Googled
I
it first.
thought I heard the name of the band correctly. I was just wrong.
All right, Rudy Salad Bar, sit down.
It was, you know what? It was at Starlight. It was a beautiful night. It was a great show. And the tickets were bought in 2020.
Hey,
Which,
that's
by the way,
when the Royals should have traded Whit Merrifield.
Exactly. By the way, that concert series was called The Last Summer on Earth.
Oh no! Oh no! They were too right.
They were wrong because it was the summer before. But it was. Yeah, no, it was a good show though. I was happy to have missed talking to you last night and traded it for tonight because of that show.
No, this ended up working out beautifully, and I appreciate you basically just having a whole set list with us here this evening. So we will we'll let you go, and Rudy's gonna clean out, grab some Q-tips or something. Just try to clean out in
Put
there.
some rubbing alcohol on them. I promise it won't burn.
That's all the endorsement I need.
Can you put rubbing out? If you type R, the first thing that comes up is rubbing alcohol in your ear. We will
listening.
We will bring you the answer about that, and probably talk more about the Royals whenever we come back after we let David Lesky go. We'll talk to you again soon, Lesky. Appreciate your time, and we'll continue to shuffle people over to the newsletter to the best of our abilities. And I'll go clean up my childhood bedroom.
I appreciate all of that. Thanks, guys.
David Lesky, Inside the Crown is the Substack, insidethecrown.substack.com. You can also get some of his work over on Royals Review. Follow him on Twitter at DBLesky. And I almost started just reading Google about the rubbing alcohol in the ear thing, but I really do want to make sure I get my facts right on this one before I give terrible medical advice on the radio. Terrible sports advice, no big deal. Terrible medical device, device, did I say?
You did.
June Blossoms.
Good band name.
Still available.
Did you know you can listen to Almost Entirely Sports anywhere, anytime? Sports with Joshua Briscoe.
Okay, if the Royals don't win 75 games this year, I'll get slapped in the face with a stick.
But I'll get slapped.
From Hereford House.
Listen, hey, you know what? Are they playing 162 this year? Is that the goal?
I think that's the plan.
If the Royals don't win 161 games this year, I will go to a Hereford House and let them slap me in the open mouth with a medium rare steak, slowly, one piece at a time.
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
After a full break of Googling my ultimate ruling on rubbing alcohol in your ears I don't know, probably not. I'm currently on RockyMountainEarCenter.com. I have done no research to find out what the source of this site really is, or if it is. It looks like it seems reasonable. It seems they got to practice and whatnot, so they seem okay. And then it says if you got earwax like build up in your inner ear, which it doesn't show there naturally, by the way. That's only if you shove it in with like a Q-tip by accident. But I'm a Q-tip user, so I'm kind of a hypocrite on this one. That it says flushing the ear with canal with rubbing alcohol displaces the water and dries the canal skin. If alcohol causes severe pain, this may indicate an eardrum perforation. I don't know, man. Don't put stuff in your ears. Although again, I am a hypocrite on that. I've used Q-tips to clean out my ears. Basically every day forever, which has only become more of a thing with in-ear AirPods and stuff like that. Like I'm trying to keep it nice and cleanly in there.
I know there are everybody says not to, but what are you supposed? What do you do?
Let it ride, I guess. Well, hold on. Let me. Should you clean
put
your
a candle in your ear?
Do you have the
melt
read the
wax?
internet? Do you have that somewhere within your? The candle thing is nonsense. That one I am pretty sure about. Really quick, I'm not a doctor, but I can read what the internet says.
I've seen things where it's you even if you don't put the candle in you put the candle in the ear, you light it, you pull it off. It's like, oh, look, there's the earwax. If you light it, even without putting an ear, you still see all that wax.
It's just like the wax of on the paper. Yeah. That one I think is a scam. I bet it feels wild though. You want to? Hey, should you clean your ears? Is that a question you're asking? Well, here's what RockyMountainEarCenter.com says.
And now, Josh reads the internet.
Wax is not formed in the deep part of the ear canal near the eardrum, but only in the outer part of the canal. So when a patient has wax blocked up against the eardrum, it is often because it says he, it's very, very judgy, but yeah, this seems like a pretty male thing to do. It is often because he has been probing his ear with such things as cotton-tipped applicators, but that just means a Q-tip, bobby pins, or twisted napkin corners. These objects only push the wax in deeper. Also, the skin of the ear canal and the eardrum is very thin and fragile and is easily injured. Earwax is healthy in normal amounts and serves to coat the skin of the ear canal where it acts as a temporary water repellent. That's interesting. The absence of earwax may result in dry, itchy ears. Most of the time, ear canals are self-cleaning. That is, there is a slow and orderly migration of ear canal skin from the eardrum to the ear opening. Old earwax is constantly being transported from the ear canal to the ear opening, where it usually dries, flakes, and falls out. Under ideal circumstances, you should never have to clean your ear canals. However, we all know that isn't always so. If you want to clean your ears, you can wash the external ear with a cloth over a finger, but do not insert anything into the ear canal. If I could just speak for all of us here. Listen, I don't want to, ever encourage anyone against good medical advice. I won't do that now. What I will say is that if I can see shrapnel in your ears, do not ask to borrow my headphones, ever under any circumstances. Over ear, in ear, under ear, around ear, top of ear. Don't ask to listen to anything out of my phone speaker. Don't ask to borrow my phone. If this is what you need to do to keep your ear canal situation popping, which I think is explicitly what you don't want your ear to do, so I take that back, then hey, ask your doctor if having waxy ears is right for you. Far be it from me to tell you what the choice there would be. Ask your doctor. But do not ask your doctor if you can borrow their AirPods, because I hope they will say no. Did that answer your question, Rudy? I think it
use
probably
Q-tips
did
every day.
Around
the outer part of your canal.
That's just where I'm at.
Not the inner.
First
time, though, you really got to get in the inner to really clean it, and then daily maintenance around the outer part of the canal so it never gets to the inner part of your canal. You're good. I think I've solved it. I'm confused.
Want my ears to be clean and not leave anything on the...
No, I think that's...
It just seems reasonable, right?
That's fair, yeah.
Anyway, what else were we going to talk about here? We need to follow up with anything with Lesky? I'm going to talk about the ESPYs again, but I wanted to get some distance between earwax and ESPYs.
And Westbys. Yeah, or Westbys.
Well, you know what you shouldn't put in your ear? Your honorary ESPY trophy, because the ESPYs are back here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Did you just turn off my microphone? What just happened?
No, your mic's on.
What did you? Were you talking? Was that your talk back?
Yeah,
I didn't hear a syllable that you said. He said 4 minutes remaining in the show.
I probably didn't push down on it hard enough because I was laughing.
It cut out my audio.
Yeah, it felt
you just
like I
were
didn't,
quiet. You're just a quiet fella.
It just felt like I didn't necessarily fully get on it. It was just kind of like on the corner almost, maybe. So maybe I just didn't.
That also was a weird effect of what was happening, dude.
Yeah.
Okay. Well. Anyway. Can
Josh.
Is my hello?
Can you try?
Can I? Is my? You can vote on the honorary ESPYs that's focusing on our community here in the greater Kansas City area. And I know that Wichita, ESPN Wichita's getting in on the action as well. But if you want to vote on the honorary ESPYs, you can do that at 810WHB.com. Just go to the website. You'll see places where you can click to go through and vote on who you would like to win the honorary ESPYs. Hear from us here at Sports Radio 810 WHB, and all of that is brought to you by our friends Mike DePasquale and the law offices of DePasquale Moore, our friends at Sandlock Goods, Google Fiber, Metcalf CarStar, and the Office Products Alliance. So thanks to all of them for making the honorary ESPYs possible yet again here. It's a cool thing we're able to do, so if you want to vote, again, 810WHB.com. Did you think that KD was going to get traded today?
Kind of.
The way things are moving at 2 o'clock.
It looked like things were picking up a lot of pace to where it was like, oh, this is probably going to be done by 6 o'clock-ish, 6 or 7.
Somebody else framed it this way, but two teams in college sports left a conference that they had been in for 100 years in a day. I mean, obviously the groundwork had been done, but we found out about it, and it officially happened in a day. Should I feel better or worse about Kevin Durant if that we have gotten almost to 10 p.m. tonight and he has not yet been moved?
Can I say neutral? Because I don't think you should. I certainly don't think you should feel worse. I think some of this is I think Brooklyn's going to try to get as much as they can, and you're going to do a little bit of leverage. And I'm sure they asked for like Devin Booker's name was mentioned. Obviously, I think Phoenix was like, of course not. That's why would we make this trade then, right? What's the point?
Why would Durant want to be here?
I'm also sure there probably a lot of it is, hey, we want to give you DeAndre Ayton. Maybe Brooklyn's not super interested, but at some point, you got to. It also sounds like they're not that interested in what Miami's offering. So the Miami's players. So it's like
they can't take Bam.
You just have to take somebody.
Yep. No, you're right. My hope is that this is now a matter of maybe it is the Suns trying. And you sure are. That's true. You are listening to Almost Entirely Sports. When it's later, it happens. Or you hit the wrong button.
Not my best.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. Did you say something? Is my mic on? I'm hoping maybe they're just out there hunting for a third team that would be excited to add DeAndre Ayton, or maybe it's the Nuggets. They send Bridges, you know. Because if you're the Nets right now, you need to get at least one guy that you can really sell as like somebody to pair with Ben Simmons, honestly, which DeAndre Ayton would. I think that the DeAndre Ayton, Michael Porter Jr., Ben Simmons trio would be kind of fun.
It'd be kind of fun in a kind of hectic, chaotic way.
Bridges, Ayton, and Simmons would be fabulous.
Yeah.
I imagine that eventually that seems like the best package they're going to get.
It's a little interesting that they don't seem to be interested in picks really at all.
Also, they got to figure out what they're doing with Kyrie, so still a lot of moving parts. This is the last show of the week for us, the KC Current, tomorrow night. We'll talk to you next week. Till then, bye, Mom.
You are listening to Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco on Sports Radio 810.